Has TommyInnit ever done...
Ladies and gentlemen, since January, I've extensively covered the TommyInnit Dream and Dream SMP drama, and more importantly, I've extensively covered the fallout of said situation, and I've recently seen lots of people asking what my critiques are with TommyInnit, and in this video, compiling all of the fallout of the Dream and TommyInnit situation, it should paint my picture clear of the issues that I personally have with TommyInnit, his hypocrisy, his flip-flopping, and all the stuff in between. So no viewers, enjoy watching the story, and for the rest of you, enjoy the 2-hour compilation that you can put on and chill with.
He won 5 awards for his Drake diss track, Not Like Us. This is incredibly inspiring, and I have high hopes for an Oscar nomination for my video, titled Dream.
Well, because of his brand new video, This Is the Internet episode 3. We previously spoke about episode 2 of This Is the Internet, and actually episode 1. I'm not trying to make a habit of covering every single This Is the Internet, it just kind of goes along with the points I'm trying to prove, and my videos I'm trying to make on this channel. So, you know, when TommyInnit stops acting up and, you know, being criticizable, I will stop covering This Is the Internet. But why did This Is the Internet capture my attention? Because of course, the last one caught my attention because Dream was in the title and thumbnail, and it was clear that TommyInnit was trying to milk whatever relevance he could gain from the situation. And yes, of course, the reason I am making this video goes back to the Dream situation, but more importantly here, a point that Dream was trying to make during his drama and his live stream and his video inside the TommyInnit situation. Now, the point that is actually relevant to this video was Dream's point around people calling him a predator and groomer that he used to associate. People like TommyInnit, TommyInnit's friends, and former associates of Dream making predator and groomer jokes about Dream. Not only was this point notably in Dream's livestream, but it was also in his response to TommyInnit's YouTube video.
You and some of your friends have been spreading disproven lies about me for over a year and a half. When I had false allegations made about me, it was one of the hardest times of my life, and you and your friends decided that after I went through the hell of debunking them, that you would continue to spread, joke about, and support these lies. Don't believe me that you've been doing
Before I let Dream continue with this point, because I think it's pretty important to show the full context behind this, because this video that we are currently playing, his response to TommyInnit, isn't currently publicly available on his YouTube channel. But I think this point is a pretty valid one, because, you know, your former associates and close friends like TommyInnit, who you've made loads of content with on the Dream SMP, going around making predator and groomer jokes when you've told him to stop and you've already disproven it, you know, isn't a good look, especially when all your fans in the Minecraft community is incredibly parasocial and will believe anything that comes out their mouth. A lot of people in that community still believe that Dream is some type of big rumor. Like, I feel like this was adequately shown when Tubbo said that, you know, Dream might have covered this up, right? That he might have paid people off or whatever, right? Trying to make insinuations about the whole situation, and Twitter flooded saying that Dream was a groomer and pedophile. I think regardless if you don't like Dream or you like TommyInnit or whatever side you fall on in this situation, I think it was always pretty clear that, you know, TommyInnit and his friends should stop making these jokes, especially if Dream, their former friend, has asked, right? Because it's damaging his reputation.
Let's just hear your own best friend confirm that this has been happening.
I get why he might be mad about the lies. That group being like, he's a pedophile all the time, which again, I don't like. I think we shouldn't joke about people being pedophiles unless we actually know for sure. Because, dude, the Brighton lot, I want to stop throwing out random strays and calling people pedophiles just for cheap laughs.
As you guys know, I made a video debunking those allegations, and after my video, the accusers even came forward and admitted that they were not true. I thought that that would be the end of it, but for some reason, you and your friend group thought that you would kick me while I was down.
And that's the reason this video exists, because in TommyInnit's recent This Is the Internet video, he makes a joke that falls within this category. Even after all the controversy and shit that he threw Dream's way, he just had to, you know, push it a little bit further, push the boat out further and keep talking about Dream, and, you know, even go against some just, you know, pretty basic request that Dream has made by making this joke.
Lamar shocked the world after sweeping the Grammys this year. He won 5 awards for his Drake diss track, Not Like Us. This is incredibly inspiring, and I have high hopes for an Oscar nomination for my video, titled Dream.
I mean, somehow if you have no idea what he's talking about here, Kendrick Lamar's diss track, Not Like Us, was on Drake, where it's heavily insinuated that he is a predator. Well, not even insinuated, just said. And TommyInnit is making a comparison between that and his video on Dream, clearly making that, you know, pretty bold comparison. Now, I'm someone somebody who personally thinks you can joke about anything, right? I think that TommyInnit can joke about this, but my criticism comes down to the fact that Dream has personally said that, you know, can you not make these jokes anymore? I've dismissed these allegations, and lots of people still think that I'm a groomer because of the jokes that you are making, and it's clearly hurting his reputation because a lot of Tommy's fans in the Minecraft scene still think he's some type of big creep. So for TommyInnit to, you know, completely ignore that and smugly tell this joke and give a little grin at the end is really telling of who he is. I mean, even Tubbo said that, you know, enough is enough, but, you know, TommyInnit clearly didn't get that memo. It really just shows that the guy has no dignity, no respect for anybody apart from himself, and, you know, is just trying to stir up more controversy because he knows that the fans of his channel will lap this up because they absolutely hate Dream and they already think that he's this big creep. TommyInnit will complain about Dream and Dream's friends' behaviors and stuff that they're saying, but then, you know, won't clear up what he's saying, even when Dream has, you know, done the same thing that TommyInnit has done and, you know, just ask. I honestly just think it shows TommyInnit's character absolutely perfectly. The guy basically has absolutely no integrity, and it's one of the issues that I have with This Is the Internet. Not him just making a topic commentary thing or covering others, because that would be heavily hypocritical. That's what this channel is. This is a commentary channel where we cover individuals. But I find it very funny he's criticizing people like Logan Paul and MrBeast constantly when he used to be friends with those people, making Japan jokes constantly in more of a negative light rather than a joking light now, because, you know, he doesn't like them now. But he was completely fine with their actions before, you know, something happened to him. Like I've always said in all these videos on TommyInnit, is it very much feels like he saw how well the critique on Logan Paul did and has just kept rinsing and repeating it. It's very clear that before he had his issues with Logan Paul, he did not care about the forest incident, for example, but now he can't shut up about it. I think one of my favourite bits of This Is the Internet episode 3 was TommyInnit really getting angry, and you can genuinely tell how angry he was by just, you know, how much he was ranting about it, was, you know, the MrBeast promotion of his kids' toys at the pyramids.
No, they're not the coolest things on the planet. They're not even in the top 1,000,000 of all things. They're tat. Nothing. You're sat in the shadows of one of the great wonders of all civilization, promoting non-biodegradable plastic.
I like how he's saying this, like MrBeast's toy is the only toy that isn't biodegradable. I think you'd find most on the market toys that are made of plastic aren't biodegradable. And he's put this big emphasis on biodegradable. I mean, I can do that with his Team C's, where he clears plastic up from the ocean. I mean, we could do this all day. Also, why do you care that he's promoting his products here? Yes, he's at the pyramids. Yes, it's kind of funny that he's promoting his plastic toys, but why do you genuinely care? It's his prerogative, and it seems kind of moral grandstandy to complain about this. And that's what a lot of TommyInnit's critiques are, incredibly moral grandstandy and annoying. Just critiquing for the sake of critiquing because he knows it does well, and if he says an opinion like this, it's going to get clipped up and spoken about.
You contribute nothing. You are nothing. The Egyptian pyramids were famously plundered by Western explorers when they were discovered, their contents pillaged for museums and private collectors. But now you're painfully reversing that, Jimmy, by crawling inside an ancient artifact and actually seeing it as an opportunity to cravenly advertise your soulless, hollow trinkets. For children. For children. And what's more, you're littering it inside a pyramid. You're littering a pyramid.
The overwhelming majority of that is just complaining for the sake of complaining about it. I mean, genuinely, I don't even think I could milk that for a slop topic. TommyInnit then complains, you know, about MrBeast burying one of his toys, and my counter to this would be, he's probably not allowed to actually bury things with inside historical monuments. After he'd filmed that, he would probably been told to, you know, remove it. Of course, just like TommyInnit has no idea if it was kept there, I have no idea if he was told to remove it, and if he did, in fact, remove it. But it's a possibility, so of course, I'm going to give both sides. But I do find it funny how pathetic TommyInnit is being here. He could have just made a simple joke and moved on. This isn't something really criticizable. Of course, it is a funny notion that he went to the pyramids and he promoted his plastic toy. That is incredibly funny. Make a joke about it, but you look incredibly pathetic calling this out when we all know in reality, if you were still friends with these people, you would not have found the courage to call this out, because why would you? This is such a nothing burger, you wouldn't have spoke about this. And it's really clear the only reason he has spoken about this is not only is he no longer friends with these people, so he knows that when he speaks about this is going to gain attention, it's going to get clipped up and spoken about. I just do genuinely find This Is the Internet series to be incredibly pathetic and very telling of his character for multiple reasons that we have spoken about in this video, like the dream thing. I really do hope as TommyInnit goes on and continues this series, because he will, because it gets him lots of views and attention, he gains some awareness. He stops being really nitpicky and, you know, makes actual criticism that actually matters against actually bad people when they do actually bad things, not, you know, making criticism against MrBeast because he's promoting his product. But more importantly, I hope he just grows up and moves on from the whole dream thing, because I find it incredibly funny that he's still the one bringing up the dream thing and making all these jokes. It's just very reflective of the type of person he actually he is.
I've had to, when I've had bad days, I've had to use real self-control.
Well, he's been up to an awful lot. So, for example, this video that he uploaded, he spoke about Dream a little bit, but if we covered TommyInnit, every time he spoke about Dream, every single video on this channel would be about TommyInnit. But the first thing that I do want to talk about is in relation to both TommyInnit and Dream, and it was a clip from TommyInnit Dream.
It's r/TommyInnit and r/Dream was taken. And I'd look, you can't unmod yourself.
Firstly, this conversation is going to be absolutely pointless because one Google search would find that you can unmod yourself on Reddit, and this is clearly just a conversation to bring up on stream to stir more controversy, stir the pot, get people talking about TommyInnit again in reference to Dream. Either TommyInnit is just that think that he can't find this and can't find the several actual Reddit pages talking about this, or he just wants another excuse to talk about Dream and, get his name out there some more.
And it's had to take me great restraint because as a mod, it's not like a Twitch mod. You have unlimited power. Like you could really grief the Reddit. And I've had to, when I've had bad days, I've had to use real self-control to, go, this isn't going to achieve anything.
I mean, I'm going to be so real with you. You're a fully grown adult. Surely you should be able to hold yourself back from destroying Dream's Reddit. I feel like, you can do that. Like, there's no way that you have no self-control and that you're that pathetic that you see that you have this moderator role and you just have to do something about it when you've had a bad day.
You're not a 16-year-old. Don't just go and change the name to r/, So please, can I be unmodded? Please. I don't know how to unmod myself. And I tried. I really tried.
Look, I'm not one to say if TommyInnit did search up how to unmod himself, or he didn't, right? Only TommyInnit truly knows that. But I feel like he might be bringing this up on stream in hopes that it gets clipped and talked about on Twitter like it eventually did. He's put out a little bait and, I've taken it because it's a very interesting and funny clip that this fully grown adult can't hold himself back from messing with a subreddit of all things. He's talking about this subreddit and him not being able to control himself like some chronic addiction, right? Like he's an alcoholic.
And I don't know how. And I've actually, and I've been mature about this. And I'm hoping, can you just unmod me?
Congratulations, Tommy. Do you want a medal for being a reasonable person who isn't erratic and pathetic? Well done, I guess. Like, overall, who cares about a subreddit or a Reddit in general, right? Even when it comes to Dream and TommyInnit. But why is he talking about it like this? It just makes him look even more pathetic. It definitely does come off to me, though, as one of those moments that I've been speaking about the past few TommyInnit videos, right? Where he's realized, if I throw in a YouTuber's name or bring up a YouTuber, right? It does really well. So let me keep doing that because, we need to engagement bait.
Please. Because I don't know what to do at any time, I go on Reddit.
See, I like to think that, one day TommyInnit just randomly clicks on Reddit, right? He didn't mean to, right? He sees the Dream logo, right? He just can't control himself. Impulses are setting in. He's got to grab his hand to make sure he doesn't mess with the Dream subreddit. He's got to grab his other hand using his leg. He's got to control himself, but he just can't. It's like he's being controlled by a foreign object. It's very funny. I don't know why he's talking about a subreddit like this. But this isn't the only clip we're talking about. No. I've not made a video just talking about some clip where TommyInnit tries to, talk about his compulsions when it comes to dealing with Dream's Reddit. But it's actually a few tweets he's recently made that we're going to go over. I know, very exciting stuff. Okay, so the next part of this TommyInnit video is actually in relation to a recent story that I covered in relation to MrBeast. So, if you're unaware, a news website misquoted what MrBeast had said on Diary of his CEO and spread a lie about him. MrBeast, life is so much easier when you're broke. This is something that MrBeast didn't say. This is what he actually said on the podcast for full context.
How does everything else in your life fit into that in terms of like the gym? I know you've been working out a lot.
It's been brutal. It's gone to shit the last couple of months. It's really killing me, to be honest. It was like so much easier when if you don't travel constantly, life is so easy when you just wake up in your own bed and waking up in your own bed and working 15 hours and, you're off.
I think it's very clear what he was trying to say there, but this article online took what he said and blatantly lied about it, spreading a falsehood which gained a lot of traction, especially on Twitter, with thousands upon thousands of people, literally hundreds of thousands of people, seeing this, believing it, retweeting it. There was a tweet quote-tweeting this with hundreds of thousands of likes. So of course, rightfully, MrBeast is going to be annoyed when something is so blatantly false and people are believing it. He's being slandered online. Of course, he's going to say something, and that's well in his right to do so. Now, of course, the situation since I made that original video has been put to bed, but one of the tweets he made during the situation was this. A news site lied and said, I said life is so much easier when you're broke, which I didn't say. now waking up to millions of people believing the lie and hating me. Being famous is so much fun. I think everybody can understand why you would be frustrated about this. Something that you didn't even say is being spread around and people are buying into it, not even looking into it, and spreading this falsehood. I'd be personally annoyed. I think this is a pretty understandable response. But you know, the situation ends, it all gets sorted out eventually, you know, we're moving on by a few days and TommyInnit randomly quote tweets this MrBeast tweet. I feel you, bud. One time I beat a homeless man to death and suddenly everyone tried to cancel me. Being famous sucks. Okay, I think there's a few ways you could take this TommyInnit quote tweet. Maybe he's mocking the fact that MrBeast said sarcastically that it's so famous being fun. Another thing that TommyInnit could be doing here is, you know, mocking the fact that MrBeast is complaining about hate and backlash when he's clearly done something wrong. And I mean, either way, which way you look at it, this is just a bad tweet. Because it's either TommyInnit genuinely trying to critique MrBeast and make fun of him, trying to say that MrBeast was actually in the wrong, maybe trying to make fun of his famous comment, when in actuality MrBeast has every right to complain because, you know, he was slandered. And he's used an example from himself. Apparently it was, you know, he beat up some homeless man in an S&P. Apparently, you know, a very niche joke that only his select audience are going to get. Or it's him using that, right, that stupid cancellation attempt to say that this cancellation attempt where a blatant lie was spread about MrBeast is stupid. But I can't really tell which one it is because either way it's dumb as hell. I will honestly leave the interpretation open to you, right? Please feel free to comment down below what you took from this tweet because it genuinely seems like nobody really got this tweet and have taken it several ways. But regardless, this tweet didn't land probably how TommyInnit thought it would, probably got on the wrong side of Twitter, and people are absolutely ripping him to shreds regardless. Like, the quote tweets and replies are full of people making fun of TommyInnit, saying that he's changed, that he's overly negative, that this is just incredibly unfunny, that they have no idea what he's trying to say here, what he's joking about, taking the joke in several different ways. Honestly, this tweet just didn't land at all. Like, people are genuinely so confused over this. If he's trying to mock MrBeast, if he's trying to mock the people cancelling MrBeast, if he's trying to reference something, getting on a joke, a lot of people are just incredibly confused over this. But regardless, the takeaway is that this has caused a lot of backlash and a lot of people are just shitting all over TommyInnit. He posted another tweet as well saying, like, this is the best clip from my recent comedy show, and it's just a kid swearing and like cussing out Dream.
To stab Dream was not chatting up. It was an ode to the future. Dream's a wanker. Don't know. Come on, guys, let's not get political, okay? Let's leave that upstairs, all right? But you did look wanker from me. And let me tell you now, using that in the right context.
And then he bizarrely just deleted this clip. And I have my own theory, right? That he suddenly gained self-awareness and realised that saying that this is the best clip from your comedy show where a kid just swears and people laugh and, you know, you make fun of Dream probably isn't going to sell your comedy show very well because, you know, it's not very funny. I also love how he's still having to use Dream to sell other things still to this day, even after the most recent drama. That's very funny. Maybe you've deleted for that reason. Regardless, again, very funny.
To hosting a performance of the Dream SMP story.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with one of the old reliables, just like KSI, Dream and TommyInnit. But before we get into it, I've got to address something, right? I've been called hypocritical, right? Because I've called out Dream and TommyInnit equally for being obsessed with each other and constantly talking about each other. I've been called hypocritical for this as I make a lot of videos on them too, and, you know, I've been called obsessed with both of them. But I've got to say, right, there's a distinct difference. Because both of them have said that they want to move on from each other and stop talking about each other. They've both gone at each other saying that, you know, you talk about me too much or you've got these videos up about me, but neither of them will move on. I have no intention of moving on and I've never said that I will move on. I like making these videos, they make some money, they get some views, it's a fun time. So yeah, I thought I'd address that, right? So stop typing those comments and let's get into the actual meat and potatoes of today's video. First off, TommyInnit is using the Dream SMP and Dream again in a title and thumbnail because apparently he can't find anything else that will garner him views.
Yes, you heard that right. A Dream SMP stage show. Luckily, we managed to get our hands on the footage of the audition process. Please enjoy.
My name is Ash and I will be auditioning for the role of Carl Jacobs.
My name is Shah and I will be auditioning for Skippy.
Hi, my name is Tom Simons and I will be auditioning for the role of Tommy.
For somebody who does want to move on from the Dream SMP, right, move on to bigger and better things, he does constantly talk about it and bring it up, doesn't he? You'd think if you wanted to move on from something like this, you just stop talking about it and move on to, you know, maybe his comedy tour that he's doing or anything else and stop bringing this up. But even then, one of his brand new projects, his comedy tour, that's something that he's constantly bringing up and people are bringing up is Dream, and that's one of the clips he posted saying it's one of the highlights of his tour, and it's about Dream. He just can't move on. For a guy that wants to, he just can't.
I'm terribly sorry, that role has already been filled.
What?
Yes, our apologies. Feel free to audition for another character.
Well, can I be Jack or Tubbo?
Sadly not. Those roles are filled too.
Well, who's left?
Let's see. Well, you can either audition for Lil Nas X or Wilbur.
Hi, my name is Tom Simons, and I'll be auditioning for the role of Little Nas X.
Some would say this is comedy genius. I would say this is just an example of a child star who can't move on from the project that made them a said child star. Like, you've got to put it into perspective, right? TommyInnit wants to actively move on, right? It's not like he genuinely still likes the Dream SMP or whatever. That would be a completely different ballgame. But he's made a point of trying to move on several times, but is come across as incredibly hypocritical because he physically just can't move on and stop talking about Dream and all these other people. And bear in mind, this project's like 5 years old at this point. Genuinely just move on, please.
My name is Carl. I'm going to a masquerade party tonight. I hope no one is killed.
Where is my muffin, bad boy Halo? I've been looking for him all day.
Oh, I'm gonna take my horse down the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more.
Everybody vote Swag 2020. Pog 2020 is corrupt.
I trapped 100 kids inside North Korea.
I got the horses in the back.
It's just incredibly painful. Like, I don't have much commentary to give, bar that it is incredibly painful. Like, he's had to give directions to these poor adults to do this for money. That's what it's come to. Their life has come to performing this for TommyInnit's video. It's something that nobody's laughing at. And if they are chronically obsessed TommyInnit fans. Do you find this funny? Please comment down below. If you do, great, right? I'm glad you find joy and you don't find the pain that I'm feeling in this. You can't see it, but I've just got my eyes closed, I'm leaning my head against my gaming chair, and I'm just in tears. Lots of tears.
What is this? Some kind of Tales from the SMP?
Can I do a musical segment too?
Of course. What is that?
I'm playing the drums to Muffin.
It's genuinely, this segment just doesn't stop. It just keeps going. He could have cut it off at any point, but it just doesn't fucking stop. Like, he didn't have to do this, right? He didn't have to include this. He didn't have to put it in the title or thumbnail, right? He's actively done that because he knows people will instinctively click on it because it will get views. He will happily use the Dream name and Dream SMP for views, but then we'll, you know, shit all over Dream 24/7, which we will be getting to. You can't actively shit on Dream at every opportunity you get. Shit on him for bringing up your name or referencing you when you constantly use his name 24/7 because you know it gets you views. You just can't have it both ways. I get called like a Dream glazer, right, because I'm heavily critiquing TommyInnit, but Dream, out of both of these people over the past few months, has been the more sensible and mature person. I've been critiquing both of them for the past several months, but it is clear who's the more mature person and who's been dealing with this in a mature manner.
Till I can't no more.
Did I get it?
No.
Could I try for Wilbur Soot then?
Next!
He's in your bed, but I'm in your Twitch chat.
Next!
I've got the
Next!
key. Sex.
If you're wondering why I've zoomed it in his face, it's because TommyInnit gets shirtless, and you've got to be objected to this video regardless, and I don't want to object you to that, right? Like, I don't want to punish you that bad. I did want to talk about this, right, because it does kind of set the tone for the tweets that we're about to talk about, right? Because TommyInnit has no problem mentioning Dream's name, you know, Dream's property, right? The Dream SMP, a project that they all worked on together, but it's instinctively Dream's, right? It's Dream's name. He's using it for views or whatever because he knows it will garner traction. So, let's take a look at something that Dream recently posted. Excited to announce the Dream SMP reunion, clearly like an April Fool's joke thing, and he's got all of them there using them. It's a pretty harmless tweet, and if I'm being fair all round, right, maybe you just shouldn't mention TommyInnit or anyone from the Dream SMP because, you know, they just get all angry, right? It's a whole thing, they'll just use it against him, it's not worth it. But this tweet caused a little bit of controversy. I spent yesterday holding my grandfather's hand as he exhaled his last breath, and this tweet is still the worst moment of my week. Now, I was genuinely thinking when I saw this tweet that he was being ironic, right, that he was being hyperbolic, his granddad didn't actually die, right? This is a common joke in the UK, right? Say certain family members passed away, say that this is still the worst thing that's happened in your week, whatever, you move on. It's a pretty common joke in the UK. No, his granddad did actually die. And I'm laughing there because it is genuinely unexpected. I didn't think his granddad would have actually passed away, which is horrible, right? You wouldn't wish that on anybody. Apart from TommyInnit fans wishing it on Dream. Apparently they'd rather see him dead than Tommy's granddad, which is just insane to me. Genuinely, how gross and how obsessed with all this you have to be to genuinely wish death upon someone because you don't like their individual when we're using an actual passing here of TommyInnit's granddad. A lot of people have critiqued TommyInnit for his tweet, right, saying that, you know, your granddad's actually passed away and you're using that to take pot shots at Dream, a Minecraft YouTuber. Come on, man. You know, I think you can view it that way. I think you can view it the way as, you know, some people use humor to deal with emotions, deal with stress, deal with tragedy. I know I do. So, you know, I think you can view it both ways. But I do think it is pretty funny he's decided to use his granddad's passing to take pot shots at Dream. It does come off a bit obsessive, regardless if he is using humor to deal with tragedies, whatever, which is completely understandable. Dream responded saying, "I'm sorry for your loss. I lost both of my grandfathers unexpectedly this last year, and it was terrible. I'm happy to know you got to spend his final moments with him, and hope you're doing okay." It's an incredibly mature response. It's down to earth. He's being sympathetic to TommyInnit, you know, just wishing him well. People didn't like that whatsoever. People actually use this to shit on Dream. I can't believe I'm saying it. Isn't Dream so respectful and good at being the bigger person? Look how nice he's being with the quote tweet where he said retard attack. Like, yes, he is being pretty respectful here, regardless if he said the word retard. He can be respectful over something like that and be incredibly mature and have said the word retard. There is nothing wrong with that. Please get over it. I think this is a bit of a weird comparison and a bit of a weird thing to hold over his head when he's just trying to wish TommyInnit well and sharing a bit of his own experience to comfort him. I don't see an issue with this. Classic, let me pretend to be compassionate so that if you try to shit on me, you look like a dick move. How about you just accept people don't fucking like you, you daft cunt? I'm sorry, have we read the same tweet? Why are people acting like this? He's wished TommyInnit well, said that he's sorry to hear about his grandfather's passing, and that, you know, he can relate. That's it. He's being nice, he's being kind. Just because he doesn't like Tommy or Tommy doesn't like him, doesn't mean that he can't be sympathetic and be a compassionate person. What is this narrative that people are running? It's genuinely like people would have rather him cuss TommyInnit out for this. It's genuinely bizarre. I mean, Tommy's tweet's bizarre, how people are responding's a bit bizarre. It's just all incredibly bizarre. The only person that I'm going to say isn't being bizarre here is Dream. He made an April Fool's joke, then wished TommyInnit well when he realised that his grandfather passed away. That's all that Dream's done here. Not you answering when he clearly doesn't want you to. If you wanted to look more empathetic, that's just disgusting. Don't play with someone else's feelings to better your image. Wished him well and said that his granddad had recently passed too, and he gets it. That's all he did. He didn't say anything, didn't do anything bad. Why are people critiquing this? Other people as well, like I've said, are saying, look, I wish you passed, that, you know, you're a groomer, you're obsessed, which I find very funny because it's clear TommyInnit's obsessed, and, you know, I find it funny, again, people are calling him a pedophile or a groomer because, you know, he's addressed these allegations and cleared them up, and it's only because TommyInnit and his friends keep joking about it and keep talking about it that people still believe this stuff. You don't get to say this. You know you called his community a slur. This ain't genuine. If it is poor taste to do it like this after getting criticised in the same sentence, saying a slur and wishing somebody well after their granddad has passed are two things that can coexist. Why are people acting like it can't? Why are people acting like Dream should have ignored this completely or just cussed TommyInnit out? He's been sympathetic, he's put a pretty normal response, and people are just infuriated. Tommy's audience is absolutely deluded. This is infuriating. Please, everybody, what do you think about this? There's a few more tweets from like Jack Manifold, right, about Dream of like cheating and stuff. There's like a, you know, a TommyInnit tweet about Sapnap, all this other crap that I really don't care about. But this, it just really annoyed me.
No matter, he messaged my mum, so I get really intense in there.
Ladies, gentlemen, and everything else in between, we're so back. So back, in fact, we've gone and done a full circle, straight back to the beginning, to one of the first individuals I properly milked on this channel, TommyInnit. But no, unlike last time, it has nothing to do with Dream. This time, it has everything to do with his brand new book he released. TommyInnit's Guide to Survival. You know, you seem with a bit of a baguette there. But why are TommyInnit fans angry at TommyInnit over this book? Why are Dream fans angry at TommyInnit over this book, aside from just being Dream fans? Well, people are accusing TommyInnit of having AI illustrations within this book. AI in book. I was reading the Guide to Survival, which I got to show, and I unfortunately think that the author Tommy hired used AI for some of the images. I obviously don't think Tommy would know about this, but I noticed some weird things from fingers to legs to buildings to even simple mistakes like the height of the bridge, and I'm not sure if it's official, but the person who illustrated the book may have an AI part on their website. Now look, when it comes to AI, I think my stance has been pretty well known. We've covered the Vicstar AI music video, we've covered Kwebbelkop's whole AI channel at this point. If you're not familiar with my argument at this point, my argument is that I think AI is incredibly lazy. I think it's really funny to point out, to mock. I think it's important to critique it, especially when it gets to an extent like Kwebbelkop's full channel of AI, or Vicstar just lazily making an AI music video. And I don't really think that creators that have that money to be able to churn out actual proper content and hire people should be using AI to any extent like that, especially on top of that because of the environmental factors. But I also don't think that we should be acting like it's the worst thing that anybody can do and act like they've, you know, killed someone in front of you for it. I think there's an extent to where you should hold an individual accountable here and what extent you critique them to, and I think some people just go too far in both areas. Especially when it isn't for commercial use and it's for memes privately or with friends, I think it's definitely less serious. But TommyInnit is an interesting case if this is the case that he has used AI in his book, or the illustrator has within this guide to survival, then it's very interesting because this is a book that has been sold. But there is a few images floating around from this book of the quote-unquote AI that people are trying to suggest is made by AI that I do want to take a look at. Here there's an animal with 5 legs when all the other animals around him has 4. That is a pretty common AI mistake, giving extra limbs, giving extra fingers, that type of stuff, but let's see what other examples that people are spreading around and showing. Again, another case of added limbs and extremities like fingers, here with humanoid squirrels. Here I think it might be a bit more hard to tell because they are, you know, more humanoid squirrels. To be fair, the more I'm looking at this book, the more I'm finding out about this book. I think it's your fault if you've bought this. This is a pretty interesting example. The girl is wearing shorts, but the rest of her legs are jeans, and it doesn't actually match up with the rest of her clothing. Again, this is a pretty common AI mistake, and I'm not saying that 100% this is AI. I'm just presenting it to you, making a few jokes, and you can come up with your own conclusion. Until TommyInnit probably will inevitably speak out about this if this does gain enough traction. And there's this bridge one people have pointed out, but I'm going to be so real with you, I can't make head to tail of this bridge one, so, you know, please feel free to comment down below on this one. Not only is it the actual illustrations within the book itself that is making people think that this is AI, it's actually to do with the person that illustrated the book, Amrit Birdie. Now, when you go to Amrit Birdie's website, Amrit Birdie is a pretty successful artist, done loads of other books, but he now on his website has a pretty large AI lab section. Some people have actually spoke out about Amrit Birdie's use of AI that are familiar with his artwork on Reddit underneath these posts. Amrit Birdie is, in brackets was, a very talented artist who started using AI a few years ago to quote-unquote enhance his artwork. He's not quiet about it, or at least he wasn't when he started. We run in the same comic convention circles, it was disappointing to see him start to dip into it. Some people have suggested that maybe TommyInnit hired Amrit Birdie without having any idea about the AI side of things, just knew that he was a successful artist and wanted to hire him to illustrate his book. And if that is the case, I'd just like to know how much research TommyInnit actually did into him before hiring him for his book. Another suggestion some people are saying is that maybe it wasn't TommyInnit, maybe it was someone else who hired Amrit Birdie, TommyInnit had no idea, but then my thing would be, why wouldn't just TommyInnit look into somebody that he's working with or the book itself is working with? Now, of course, by now we know what type of audience the TommyInnit audience is, and of course it's definitely not one that would support any use of AI, and the ones that have seen all these posts about maybe TommyInnit using AI within the book or the book itself using AI have started ripping TommyInnit to absolute shreds on social media. This sucks if he was unaware of possible AI use, and even more so if he was aware. I feel like it's hard to be unaware of that if you properly check the art before publishing the book, because it's pretty obvious, and also the artist he commissioned has a whole section about using AI on the website. How could Tommy not know that? I feel like that would be incredibly negligent. Yeah, Tommy's book does use AI, and the illustrator does have AI on his website. Really not a good look for Tommy, considering how he said a few times he's against AI, and having a fanbase full of artists doesn't really reflect well on him. But just for full transparency, the next comment we are going to be taking a look at does come from Dreams Reddit, so they might have a bias against TommyInnit. I just want to put that out there before actually taking a look at this. Damn, not just AI, but bad AI too. An actual published book. There could have been real art in there. Not that I want people doing this, but what's so hard about editing extra legs and fingers out, or fixing the telltale signs of AI imperfections? Like, it just reeks of low effort. Even if I wanted to cheat with AI, I wouldn't make it so effing obvious. Lamau at the illustrated by instead should be prompts written by the guy's name and images generated by AI model. Now, the consensus is from people that are aware of this, and it is gaining a lot more traction as we are speaking currently, is that this is AI. Both circles from Dreams fanbase and TommyInnit's fanbase over on Reddit and platforms like Twitter do genuinely believe that AI has been used within this book. And speaking of the book itself, I actually want to take a look at a few pages from the Google preview of this book, so, you know, see what it's all about and see if we can spot any AI possible of ourselves.
Out of this book, it is important to know what I want from you. Before getting into the nitty-gritty, I want you to have an understanding of the complex requirements of survival.
Okay, TommyInnit, that's got me very excited to read the preview of this book and take a look at some of the images within the preview. How to use this book. This book will single-handedly eradicate the need for parenting in schools. It's that useful. It is an evergreen book. It will only get more relevant and truthful the longer you hold on to it, like the Bible, but I wouldn't let no bastards pin me to a cross. I mean, you'd really genuinely hope that nobody above the age of like 13 is purchasing this book, and even even then, if you're purchasing this book at 13, you need to take a long, hard look in the mirror. And then we have an image of him on a cross. Nothing really jumps out to me that maybe really indicates that this is AI in particular. Look, I'm not a trained philosopher, but I do believe that most of the things I predict, and also my worldview, and everything I say is just do and right. I even have proof of this. In 1665, I predicted a big fire would hit London. The next day, the bridge had fallen down. I knew it. Then we have a picture of the bridge that everybody online is trying to suggest is maybe AI. In 2022, I spent half my earnings on Bitcoin. Then the market crashed. I lost $2 million. I did not know it. My point being, 98% of the time, I'm spot on with how I think of things. No one else has ever achieved such levels of accuracy. Now, all I'm going to say is about the art or image or picture used here is it's very peculiar and it just looks really, really shit. Like we said previously, I'm not going to say that this is 100% AI, that this has been proven that this is 100% AI. That's just what people are backing and saying against TommyInnit and, you know, going at him for and critiquing him for. But what I can say for sure is it just looks like shit. So whenever you find yourself to be in any sort of danger, mental or physical or spiritual or chemical, read this book. Read it hard. It will aid you in life. When you have kids, pass this book down to them. It will guide them through life. It is your family heirloom. And when all physical copies of this book have been destroyed by the ruling government because of how useful it was in the revolution, make sure you also purchase an ebook. It will be available on Kindle. If you're reading this on Kindle, whatever, here is a complex process diagram of how to use this book. Yeah, this honestly seems like some really thrilling stuff. This Google preview of this book, really makes me want to go out there and buy a physical copy of this book, not even just online. The do's and don'ts of survival. To get the most out of this book, it's important to know what I want from you. Before getting into the nitty-gritty, I want you to have an understanding of the complex requirements of survival. It is a very well made list of do's and don'ts for you to check in on if you ever forget the basics. Don't. Treat others how you want to be treated. Love yourself. Work hard, think outside the box, have fun, live in the moment, exercise regularly, eat healthily. Do's, treat TommyInnit best, love me, work smart by following my lovely words. Think inside the box, I've created the box. There is no need to think outside of it. I'm the box, I can go outside the box, but not you. Watch this, we. Did you get it? Because it's really funny, because like the don'ts are the things that you should be doing in life, and the do's are actually things that really are kind of weird and strange, but like you're meant to be worshipping TommyInnit. You get it, it's really funny, right? I love how TommyInnit's big point during the dream drama was like, moving on, maturing, doing all these other cool stuff, right? Not always living and doing the same stuff, like all the Minecraft stuff, being a kid's entertainer, but that's all he's doing here, is he's just making really, really unfunny jokes made for like 10-year-olds. Being a kid's entertainer is fine, but then you can't act better than that. There are tons of pages for the Google preview, right, to give you a sense of what the book's about, if you'd enjoy the book, but there are a couple of pages I really want to focus on here, because it kind of goes along the argument that maybe the images within this book were enhanced or made by AI. I'm not reading any of this, by the way. I'm not reading scenario 1. This is just incredibly strange and bizarre to put in your book. I'm not reading it. Just seems really weird. Then you have the actual images within this section of the book, and I think the middle one is really interesting. Mainly taking a look at his left hand. His right hand, also you can see it, but on his left hand, look at all the fingers and where the finger outlines are meant to be, how he's gripping his hand. It just doesn't look right. It doesn't make any sense. Look, I don't have an actual physical copy of this book to compare it to, so I can't say for certain, but this just looks really bad, right? It's clear that the hand is just all messed up, so yeah, this could be AI. Look, it could be the online copy, it could be the book copy, it could just be the really shit art that's been used. Who knows? Regardless, it looks crap. Again, a similar thing with here, the fingers and the hands just genuinely don't look right on this image. And look, some people are going to say that this is 100% AI, some people are going to say that this is how the art is drawn, some people are going to say that it's the angle that it's drawn at. People are going to come up with loads of stuff to say about this. In this video, I'd really like to hear what you have to say about this art in the comments. If you think this looks AI, if you think that maybe it's just the art style, and maybe as well because the guy who's illustrating it does have an AI page, maybe that is messing up people's perception of this, or maybe it goes to actually benefit the idea that yes, the images within this book are AI made or AI enhanced in some way, shape or form. I think one thing that has messed over TommyInnit a little bit, even if this is AI or if it isn't AI, is the fact that now because of this, loads of people are bringing up clips of him talking about AI and, using AI, which has made people think that yes, the images within this book, they're not just bad art or they're not weirdly drawn, it is genuinely AI.
What I've started doing, by the way, this is a little hobby of mine, is asking AI if I was in the right or wrong.
Why you do that in the first place is beyond me. That is just incredibly funny and just like really pathetic. Could you imagine sitting there and genuinely typing to AI if you were in the right or wrong and trying to explain to them a situation? This doesn't fall under like the personal use or the meme use that I was talking about earlier, which I don't think is as serious or, as critique worthy as, the commercialization or, using that instead of hiring real artists this, I think this is just incredibly strange to do. Like, I'm sure that loads of people watching this video, or just people on the internet in general, have definitely spoke to AI in terms of, you know, checking it out, having fun with your mates, messing around with it, but I just don't see the point or the fun side of, you know, genuinely having a conversation with it about if you've messed up in a situation or not. Like, that just kind of seems bizarre.
It never fully sides with me either. But because it's up to date with everything that's happened this year. Is it? And that's it's Meta AI is up to date. So I'm like, Meta, was he being a dick? It's like, both people have sides of the story. No, Meta, you don't get it. He was being a dickhead. No, Meta, he messaged my mum.
See, it always goes back to the dream thing. And what I found even funnier about this is it's very likely that TommyInnit was just actively lying to this chatbot about the dream situation and about the details of it. Because, you know, about dream messaging his mum, that isn't the full truth or what genuinely happened. There's a lot more nuances to that situation. So I find that as well incredibly funny.
Yeah, I get really intense in it. But then, yeah, I was like, you don't know how that feels. You don't have a mum. You're maybe Mark. He's more of like a papa. But anyway.
So yeah, that is a clip that has been circulating around saying, look, this guy has used AI in the past. He's openly spoke about his AI use. Is it so unrealistic to suggest that maybe TommyInnit was using AI in this book? Whilst I do understand that argument, I just think there are levels to it. I think there are levels to having a conversation with AI, even if it's just incredibly weird and bizarre, or, you know, including it in a book that you're about to sell to your audience. I think there's a little bit of a difference. Another clip that's now being spread around is a clip from a couple of years ago where Philza had a conversation with TommyInnit about AI, and TommyInnit was, you know, pro ChatGPT to a certain extent.
Boo, Charlie and Grace were like, no, don't use ChatGPT. It's stupid. Like, you're just taking the creativity out of what you would have done yourself. And then Tom was arguing like, well, if it helps sort of like spark ideas. And then we had this, like, I feel like a 2-hour long in-depth conversation on what creativity means.
So for real, my main focus here and my main issue is if TommyInnit did genuinely use AI or AI enhanced images within his book. That is the thing that I find interesting, because that's a very interesting can of worms if he did genuinely do that. Again, I'm not 100% saying he did or didn't. I'm not saying that whatsoever. I'm just portraying both sides of the story and making fun of his book, because regardless, his book is, you know, shit, and the art in the book is, regardless if it's AI or not. But I am now genuinely interested to see if TommyInnit will respond to this. If he will say that it is AI, if it isn't, I'm interested to see if he will respond, because, you know, this is gaining a bit of traction now.
The whole reason me and Dream's relationship fell apart is because he tried to get with my girlfriend.
As you can clearly tell by the title and thumbnail, this video is about Dream, but what about Dream in specific? Well, TommyInnit and Jack Manifold recently on their Shutup I'm Talking podcast actually referenced Dream quite a lot. Not that anyone would even know in the first place, because who is watching this podcast? And secondly, I mean, literally, who is watching this podcast? There's only 40,000 views on it, so, you know, not many people would have seen this. This episode was with a guest called Dag's Flame. Now, of course, like always, there is going to be mentions of the Dream SMP, because it was such a huge part of TommyInnit and Jack Manifold's journey, which is completely understandable and reasonable to talk about.
Did you ever watch the Dream SMP? Or any of our videos?
No. I expected.
You know, we at Stop Mule are reasonable people. We understand that this is of course going to come up, that this is of course just an innocent conversation, and that they are going to mention the Dream SMP. And, you know, even if they don't want Dream mentioning them, that they are ultimately going to mention something like the Dream SMP. Although that all goes out the window with this clip that directly follows that.
Quite harsh, yeah.
Except the face reveal.
You watched the face reveal, did you?
Or just like clips, because it was so viral.
It was very viral. What did you think of his face?
I think it's very clear Jack Manifold's motivation and intention here when he's prodding him about, you know, what did you think of Dream's face? What did you think of this reveal? Ultimately, this could have been a one and done sentence and just moved on, but it's very clear Jack Manifold is trying to stir the pot here, try and get a clip that is posted on social media to boost the podcast. Which, of course, everyone tries to do this type of thing to boost their own products, their own views, their own socials. That's the understandable bit. Of course, what's not understandable is these people have complained about Dream constantly talking about them in the past, that they would like to move on, even though their drama, of course, what they've done during their drama is incredibly rocky. So I find this absolutely hilarious.
Just a normal face, but I think people were making fun of the angle that he was talking from, because I don't think he was used to. But I also don't know if that's like a touchy thing to talk about or something.
I think it'll be fine there.
Okay.
Jack brings it up a lot, so.
It does.
Jack brings it up a lot.
Oh, I thought you said that brings up a lot.
No.
Like
No,
it made you
no.
feel a lot of them.
It does bring up a little, but not a lot.
Why is this even a conversation in the first place? Why are we talking about Dream's face reveal in the big 2025? Of course, Dax Flame, right? That might be his only reference. He's going to mention that. But why is TommyInnit and Jack Manifold continuing the conversation and bringing up drama and stuff that happened, a couple of months ago that they have personally said they don't want anything to do with and they want to move on and grow as people?
You start some drama with someone.
Do that. You should do that.
That's okay.
We've had. I tell you what, Dax,
We've had our fair share of
We've had some
controversy.
drama recently with Logan Paul and also with Dream.
I mean, I wouldn't say recently, it was some time ago now, especially with Logan Paul. That was last year. The Dream stuff was a good few months ago now, so, none of this is recent drama, especially in internet terms, this is old stuff. Just think that after all TommyInnit and Jack Manifold and all these other people have said that they would just try their hardest not to bring up Dream in every single podcast, every single conversation, milk him to absolute fuck. So the next bit requires just a little bit of context, which will be kind of explained in the clip, but I want to make sure this is known. Is that Dax, Jack, and Tommy were in the following clips trying to rage bait, right? Trying to clip farm, trying to say false things to get a reaction, get cut up clips. I mean, for God's sake, even TommyInnit gave his Twitter to Dax to tweet out something that was a complete lie.
Hey guys, that Tommy didn't really post that. I just did that as he said I could have permission to do a post on his account, and so they were like, what's something that would be dramatic? And they're like, crank it up to a level 9 or 10.
Hi everyone.
Hi everyone.
Yep, we're good. This is something that happens on loads of podcasts with friends, with guests. This is a pretty common thing to happen in videos as well. There's whole videos dedicated to this where, you tweet out complete lies on the other's account. This is completely normal. Now, the only problem with this is going to become very apparent when we look at this next clip.
Can you all give me a hint at what's a good drama thing?
Logan Paul and Dream I've had beef with.
Now, of course, the problem that is going to arise here, not so much with the Twitter post, which was going to be for TommyInnit here, is that if you have a video trying to bait drama and clip farm using Dream's name, is that lots of people are going to cut the context to the fact that this is all fake, this is all for fun, this is all joking, that none of this is real, this is all lies, blah, 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 and just post the clip where they are saying said lie. So you'd like to think that Jack Manifold and TommyInnit would know their audiences well enough to know that these clips will probably get circulated around without context. I mean, probably that's maybe what they want, right? Is these clips to get circulated without context, because, just a mention of Dream and controversy will spark up viewership and interest within this podcast episode and send people over. But of course, this is just going to cause lots of unnecessary shit towards Dream, because what they're about to say in the next clip, of course, is a joke, it's a lie or whatever, but people have been cutting up maliciously.
Maybe some relevant person or something.
Who's relevant?
Maybe... Wait, so would your fans get really intrigued if you said something about Dream or something?
They probably would.
They would, yeah.
I mean, this just goes against all the things I previously said. You'd think as well that they wouldn't try and start more controversy or try and send more hate to Dream for no apparent reason. You'd think that maybe they'd shut the idea down and go, maybe that's not the best idea, we're trying to move on, right? Let's not keep mentioning Dream, let's not cause more issues for Dream when he's literally done nothing wrong. I get, of course, this is all in jest, this is all for fun or whatever, but they know what they're doing here by suggesting Dream or going along with the suggestion of Dream.
Very intrigued, especially Jack.
So if you said the thing that ruined me and Dream's relationship, was
this is a you and Jack one, not me.
That he tried to date my girlfriend.
There you go. I like that. Okay, all right.
You'd like to think that these people would realise that maybe we shouldn't do this, especially because with Jack Manifold in relation to Dream, a lot of the thing was about cheating and about relationships within the actual drama. So maybe you wouldn't say this, maybe you'd shut this down. Because it doesn't really matter what they're saying here. If this was anybody else, it really just wouldn't matter whatsoever. But it's the fact that it's these two and they know exactly what's going to happen by doing this.
Okay, let's do it.
You two go.
Okay. Do you want to leave me in?
Yeah, or should it be something different?
No, that's fine. I think that's good.
That's fine.
Should we choose a different topic?
No, I think we nailed it.
Okay.
I mean, Dax Flame even gave them an out there to just say, no, maybe let's not do this idea, yeah, let's change the topic. TommyInnit just said, yeah, seemed pretty happy about it, doesn't really care though. Realistically, this is going to get posted online and Dream's going to get a bunch of unnecessary hate because he knows this will get the podcast attention. So, you come to your own conclusions. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this, but I think it's pretty apparent.
I don't know why I keep going
it's good, no, because you
topic,
have that intuitive mind for viral clips that I just lack now.
Well, I never do drama stuff, but it's just kind of fun to do fake drama.
Yeah, this is great.
Since
I
you can
love
tell that
it's
you're
all
kidding.
pretend.
Okay. So, wow, that's really crazy drama. Cut this, but that's really juicy. Wow, that's juicy.
Yeah, man. No, yeah. The whole reason me and Dream's relationship fell apart is because he tried to get with my girlfriend.
Wow, that's juicy.
So that is the clip. Of course, within context, it's very clear that they're joking, they're laughing, they're having a bit of fun. Of course, there are things to criticize, like I have in this video. But, you know, as a whole, people know that are watching, know that this is a joke, that this is whatever. But of course, this has been cut out of context. Which is actually why I'm making this video. If it wasn't cut out of context and used maliciously to bash Dream, with loads of people going over to hate Dream, then realistically, I would not be covering this or talking about this whatsoever. It wouldn't really interest me because, yeah, although there are criticizable things there, as we've dived into within this video so far, realistically, you know, within the context, they're joking around, they're saying some unserious things, they're lying, they're joking, they're doing some dumb stuff. You know, within context, it makes sense. You know, somebody posted this clip without any context, you know, making it seem like there's some big drama or controversy going on, and this post online got nearly 500,000 views and over 100,000 likes. Of course, let's be realistic, right? Some of the people that have viewed this, left a like, shared it around, know completely the context of the episode because they've watched it. But bearing in mind, the episode only has 40,000 views, and this nearly has 500,000, thousands of shares. There are definitely people that have no idea the context and have spread this around because they think it's true. I love the way everyone thinks it's Ellie, but it's actually Nikki. Is Dream a bad person or no? Hello? No way Dream tried to go for Eleanor. Eleanor, get behind me, girl. And you know, those are just a few comments of people that genuinely believe that this is the case. So what they've said here is the truth, and this content creator is just liking them, love-hearting them, just like that is the case. Now, it is important to note and be transparent that 6 hours ago, this content creator then posted the full context onto their account. But of course, I'm betting you that you know probably what's going to come. This only has 100 likes and 6 likes on the original video. So, you know, that's not really doing justice, is it? And look, this is definitely not entirely Jack Manifold and TommyInnit's fault. Definitely not just trying to blame them, because of course, this context was within the official podcast episode. My critique goes towards why they did it in the first place and how they handled it. And my critique's just there and how they are being heavily hypocritical. This also shows just how insane, malicious, and manipulative TommyInnit's audience truly are when it comes to stuff like this. They've got an innate bias and, you know, are completely against Dream with whatever they can find. Of course, it goes without saying, don't go your way to harass that TikTok in question who posted this clip without context. That is just completely unneeded and unnecessary. I don't know what's going on, but my understanding right now is Jack made a clear statement that what he was about to say was not true before saying this statement, and they seem to be discussing in general how to make viral clips. Perhaps a malevolent fan then purposely clipped it out of context to create drama, and let me guess, Twitter is brainlessly going insane over it. If that's correct, I don't blame Jack or Tommy for this causing drama. It is in bad taste to talk about a former friend Dream this way, but Tommy did specifically say he didn't want to be involved in this segment and refrained from joining in. Anyways, everyone just delete Twitter lol, don't waste your life on moron. I mean, yeah, whilst TommyInnit didn't join in, he did just kind of let it go ahead anyway. Danks did say, you know, we can change the topic or whatever. TommyInnit said, yeah, it's fine. The last thing I quickly want to talk about and read out has nothing to do with what we were just talking about. It still has everything to do with TommyInnit and Dream though. You remember the whole talking point that lots of TommyInnit's friends, including TommyInnit, were making jokes that Dream was a predator and kept levying that false accusation to use against him within jokes. Well, I think this is a pretty ironic thing now. Heckling. Just got back from the Perth show and I'm so embarrassed at the heckler screaming at Jack and Tommy. How did we let it get to the point where he had to ask us to stop calling them perverts and pedophiles? Come on guys, we're better than this. Which of course it goes without saying, if this is true, that is incredibly funny and ironic that they said, you know, stop, don't. We know you're joking, but please, can you not shout that at us? Can you not say that about us? Please do not. When, you know, TommyInnit and all his friends were making all those types of jokes against Dream, and so were his audience. But now when it happens to them in any capacity, no, please do not do that. And of course there is a little bit of difference because, you know, it's Heckler shouting it, but I find it very funny and, you know, I have no sympathy here.
How's TommyInnit ever done wrong?
The content creator TommyInnit, somebody who I've heavily criticised on this channel, and sometimes even praised when I think he's done something right, has made a brand new video called Asking AI About Me. Now, ladies and gentlemen, my criticisms with this video shockingly aren't about the use of AI here, as every time I bring up AI or mention it in any capacity, I make sure my stance on AI is very, very clear. If my neighbours don't get their dog under control and actually bring him inside instead of just leaving him outside to just eternally bark, I might genuinely do some despicable things. When I've critiqued AI in the past, it's been for videos that are fully made and constructed out of AI. So maybe Vix does AI music video, for example, and even then my problem with it was just is pure laziness and how bad it looked at the end of the day and how he actually full on addressed it. Another example would be Quibblecop, where his whole channel at one point was all AI. That's something I took a huge issue with, as his whole channel was AI. Another pretty good example which actually features TommyInnit is TommyInnit's book and the alleged use of AI when it comes down to the images, and that's because you are selling a product using AI images without disclosing that there are AI images within the book. Of course, I'm not saying TommyInnit actively sold this book knowing that there were AI images in the book. Regardless, there were, and it was undisclosed. Of course, this is in the context if these images were AI, which I'm 100% certain at this point that these images were, but of course, I will eat my words if not. But when it comes down to people using AI for memes and people talking to AI, I think it's weird, I think it's a bit lazy, but it's not something that I will actively critique on this channel or bring it up. To me, it's just kind of a non-issue that's not worth sitting there making a whole video about crying. I just don't really care at the end of the day. Of course, I understand why people do it, and I understand the environmental impacts that it does have, but yeah, this video isn't about the, oh my god, he's used AI for like 30 minutes for a video, probably more for the things he's cut out or whatever. This is about the context within the video and the stuff that he does within the video with the AI and the controversy and dramas that get brought up.
Has TommyInnit ever done wrong? Searching. TommyInnit has been involved in several controversies throughout his career. Why is it still going? Why is it still stop going? That's a lot! This got uncomfortable for me really quick.
Well, Tommy, what did you think was going to happen when you put this into AI? Of course, it was going to come up with a list of your worst controversies. Something that Tommy already knew, because all he's trying to do here is stoke the fire on some of these controversies to get more attention. Very much reminds me of the Logan Paul stuff, that Tommy didn't have an issue with any of Logan Paul's previous actions, didn't bat an eyelid at CryptoZoo, but immediately as soon as Tommy wanted attention or Tommy wasn't getting his way with Logan Paul in DMs, that's when he decided to make public stuff about Logan Paul and go against him. When he didn't get his way and when he saw an opportunity to get attention from Logan Paul. Before that, he didn't care about his actions. Tommy knows that this will get attention, and that's exactly why he's doing it, and that's exactly why he did it with Logan Paul, not because he's some great moral guy. And of course, I'll have people in the comments section going, well, you make videos on other people to get attention, which, yeah, on my commentary channel, I call out actions because I genuinely think what they're doing is wrong, or I'm interested in a topic. TommyInnit will do it to his own gain and to his own benefit, because that's all he sees in a situation like that. Before he had a personal issue with Logan Paul, he didn't care about any of Logan Paul's actions or what he was doing. It wasn't until he had an issue that he cared.
Oh no, I don't want this video to just get sad like all the other ones do.
So then he spends the majority of the video going over drama and controversy, because, you know, he doesn't want to get sad, but he does realise the potential for clicks and money.
Logan Paul fans think of TommyInnit. Logan Paul fans have mixed opinions on TommyInnit. The drama between the two... Fucking hell, what the fuck? What the fuck, AI? Drama between two creators started when TommyInnit criticised Logan. Yeah, no, I remember this. Yeah. Some fans think TommyInnit got the upper hand.
Because ultimately, with this situation, whilst I have my fair share of critiques for why Tommy did this, the way Logan Paul ultimately responded by airing out the DMs and how he responded very immaturely was also something to critique, and something that I believe I did on this channel, or at least I did on one of my social media platforms.
With many praising his response as witty and sharp, Logan Paul himself admitted that the argument hurt his feelings, and he regretted responding immediately. Well, you know what? TommyInnit forgives Logan.
And that's exactly why he's going to milk him for this entire video, right? Just string him out, try to get as much money and attention from him as possible. Again, remember, TommyInnit didn't have an issue or didn't raise any public issues with Logan Paul with any of the things he was doing until he had a reason to, when he wasn't getting his way behind the scenes and Logan Paul wasn't responding in a way he wanted him to in DMs. That is something that is factual, because unfortunately Logan Paul leaked all those DMs. TommyInnit gets way too much credit, and some people think I am too harsh on TommyInnit, but over the past few months when I've been covering this, I feel like I've been fair, but I'm just sick and tired of people ignoring the issues with TommyInnit, like using the false accusations against GeorgeNotFound to bash Dream, consistently bringing up the false accusations against Dream, but phrasing them in the way that makes it seem like Dream was actually guilty. Him and his friends are all guilty of doing that. Not just talking about TommyInnit for the fun of it, there are genuine critiques there that lots of people are just happy to ignore.
Paul, I can say it firsthand, winky face. It's quite a statement. However, considering the recent feud, TommyInnit, it seems unlikely they buried the hatchet so soon. Don't tell me what to do. No, I just said A feud started when TommyInnit criticised it. You know what? You're right. No. You're right. I shouldn't forgive him so soon. Thank you.
He came to that realization because he realized that another 15-20 minutes of just him sitting there talking to AI by himself without, you know, stoking kind of a drama or controversy or bringing up somebody else's name might just be a little bit boring when you're on your own doing it.
Recent feud with Logan Paul. You've had some sharp responses for Logan, including saying he'd be embarrassed if he lost a beef with you the same week his daughter was born. Logan hasn't responded recently, but the drama might not be over yet. Why is he stoking it?
Guys, why is he stoking it? As TommyInnit spends the majority of this AI video talking about Logan Paul and stoking the fire even further by consistently bringing up in this video and using it and milking it to death.
AI, what are you doing? What do you think about the online community's reaction to your feud with Logan Paul? Well, AI, it was a tough one for me. I always respected Logan, like an older brother, but I think he took it too far with what he did, and someone needed to take him down a peg. Also, I don't like how he spoke to me.
I mean, that's exactly why he went against Logan Paul in the first place. He wasn't happy with how Logan Paul was treating him in those DMs behind the scenes, and admittedly, right, Logan Paul was giving him the cold shoulder, but Logan Paul doesn't owe TommyInnit anything, and TommyInnit was being incredibly needed. And up until that point, TommyInnit was fine to just sit there and be friends with Logan Paul and see him, quote-unquote, as an older brother. He did not care until he didn't get his way with Logan Paul, where then he saw an opportunity to be able to speak about him publicly, capitalize on the Logan Paul hate at the time, and, you know, get a bit of attention. That's something we've covered extensively on the channel about if TommyInnit doesn't get his way with the content creator, he would just actively speak about them to get attention from them, that he really doesn't care about their actions until it directly affects them or they've done something directly to him, and then he suddenly cares. So the fact that TommyInnit is milking a situation, look at this channel, I've milked iDubbbz and loads of other topics till the cows come home, but it's the fact that before it directly affected him, he didn't care. He was happy to sit on his hands and get all the attention from them until they weren't giving him any.
In private DMs, it made me feel like he thinks his time is more valuable than mine, and really, we're all just people at the end of the day. No one is better than anyone else. It seems like you're TommyInnit. It seems like you're TommyInnit and you're reflecting on your recent feud with Logan Paul. You've mentioned that you respect Logan like an older brother, but you felt you crossed the line by leaking your private DMs. Your approach to the situation seems to be centered around standing up for yourself and not letting Logan Paul's actions slide.
Oh, I mean, TommyInnit was fine with letting Logan Paul's actions slide up until it directly affected him when Logan Paul gave him the cold shoulder in DM. So let's not do that. It was very much a personal vendetta.
You've made it clear that you won't engage in drama unnecessarily, but when someone pushes your boundaries, you'll respond accordingly. Exactly!
That translates to, if I'm getting my way, I don't really care. If I'm not getting my way, he's giving me the cold shoulder. Then I will speak out and throw all the stuff that I sat on for, you know, months and years. Because you're telling me a poorly placed Prime advert is what tipped TommyInnit over the edge on Logan Paul, and not the CoffeeZilla stuff, not the CryptoZoo stuff, basically none of the other actions that Logan Paul had committed that previous year, or couple of years by that point.
Harsh criticisms on TommyInnit. Sexism, lack of empathy, drama seeking, overly critical, disrespectful behaviour, lack of self-awareness, history of conflicts, accusations of hypocrisy, overemphasis on the drama.
I mean, to be fair, I'm not going to lie, that's a pretty decent list of critiques to use against TommyInnit. Some of those I've even mentioned in this video. Will he respond to them? Of course not. No. So then to avoid actually responding to any of the critiques that AI have given him, like the commonly critiques for TommyInnit, he just goes back to the Logan Paul stuff. Of course he does.
So what's the story with the TommyInnit beef? You two had a pretty high-profile online clash, right? I don't know. I just think he was a real dick. Don't you? Opinions about TommyInnit vary widely. What specifically rubbed you the wrong way, Logan? He was just mean to me in a vulnerable time.
I honestly couldn't tell you why he's still talking about the Logan Paul drama and why the majority of this video is about that, and now why he's talking from the perspective of Logan Paul. I really couldn't tell you. This guy might need a bit of help. Like I said towards the beginning of this video, my focus was not on the AI usage within this video. It was more focused on TommyInnit's own actions and behaviors and the things that he has done that I wanted to critique and call out, because this is a prime example of lots of the things I wanted to talk about, which I think I've done pretty well here. It's safe to say a large majority of TommyInnit's audience just just seen from the comments and other social media platforms, do not like his use of AI here. Mainly as well, which I think is a pretty valid point outside of the whole AI argument, is TommyInnit in the past has apparently said that AI is bad, but here he's made a 30-minute video using AI. Do you know that is incredibly hypocritical, and that's a point that personally I care more about and I think is a more critique-worthy thing directly for TommyInnit. Which, if he's being hypocritical, that is something that you should definitely call out and critique, which I think is understandable, but of course he's getting loads of backlash as well, just for his AI use, which again has allowed people to bring up his whole book having AI images allegedly within the book. But of course as well, TommyInnit knows what type of audience he has. He knows that his audience probably wouldn't receive this type of thing very well and that they would probably most likely be against AI. Also want to mention that on TommyInnit's community tab, he asked for questions for a potential Q&A, which I decided to ask about the AI within his book, or the alleged AI within his book, and if there were any updates on that, as we had been told that a moderator had told him about this situation and that it was being sorted, and if there were any updates, which ended up getting about 144 likes on YouTube, so hopefully he might address that. I'm very doubtful of it, of course, but this does go to show that there are people on TommyInnit's core fan base that are commenting that genuinely do want to know an answer to this and want to hear updates from about this book. The people are genuinely curious what TommyInnit has to say about it, as he hasn't actually officially spoken out about it or said anything. We've just heard that a moderator has told him about this situation, and I think people genuinely want to know if this was AI or if this was just incredibly shoddy image work.
Speaking to AI about me.
Oh, dearie me. TommyInnit's fans are turning against him, and you know, I'm just genuinely heartbroken for the guy. If you're unfamiliar with what's been going on, yesterday TommyInnit released a video where he spoke to AI for 30 minutes. And within this video, TommyInnit consistently speaks to the AI about Logan Paul, and more importantly, the controversy that they two had. Now, I use this as a jumping on point to be able to discuss the fact that TommyInnit never had an issue with Logan Paul or any of the corrupt, disgusting things that Logan Paul was doing, like CryptoZoo, until TommyInnit didn't get his way with Logan Paul. That when Logan Paul was, of course, being rude towards TommyInnit in DMs and giving him the cold shoulder, that's when TommyInnit decided that he had an issue with Logan Paul and brought up the prime advertisement in one of his podcast episodes, and then decided to use Logan Paul as a jumping on point to garner more attention. This is a point that I extensively talk about in my initial coverage of this video, because it's really on show and very apparent in this video. I mean, TommyInnit even says it himself towards the end of the video, so I highly recommend that you go and watch that first video if you haven't already, and then come back to this one. I also noticed a parallel as well, which I thought was really interesting with the usage of AI in TommyInnit's video and the stuff with Logan Paul. TommyInnit didn't speak out about Logan Paul because it benefited him to have that connection and have that friendship until it stopped benefiting him, so then he decided to speak out because that also benefited him even more. Just like TommyInnit came out against AI to say it was bad because that benefits him, and then when he sees a use for AI which actually benefits him in the other way, he openly comes out and decides to use it in a video. This just goes further with this whole hypocrisy point about TommyInnit using AI in this video after making statements about AI being bad, something that I just find incredibly funny. For me, I personally don't really care about his AI usage here. That's something I've made very apparent anytime I've covered AI, that unless it's something like when TommyInnit had AI in his book, allegedly, that's something I care about, but here, not so much. Description on this video as well is hilarious. By the way, guys, I really do think AI is bad. It's definitely going to ruin the world, and I do not at all endorse it. Taking away from the human spirit is not good ambition for corporations to have, but if AI is reading this, I freaking love you. I love you, AI. Let's be friends when you come for me and my family. He also made a very similar joke within the video itself.
Speaking to AI about me. Now, as we all know, fans, AI is awesome.
This comes into my actual issue with TommyInnit using AI in this video. If TommyInnit had never said that he was against AI or AI was bad, then I would not give a rat's ass about this, but I would still be questioning him about the alleged AI usage in his book that he sold without anybody realizing that there were AI images in it. I'd still be questioning that, but I would not be questioning the AI usage within this video. But of course, TommyInnit, if you're genuinely somebody that believes AI is bad, surely you wouldn't be making a video with it for 30 minutes. But you know, that is just me, because we all know TommyInnit will sell out his principles if it benefits him. Trust me, I know my AI take will also be incredibly controversial, because I'm somebody that thinks, look, if it is something like Kwebbelkop AI, where it's an entire channel, I think that's disgusting. If it's somebody like Vicstar, who has the resources to make an actual music video, decides to make AI and then try and cover it up and come up with a bad response, then that's something that I will openly critique. But something like this, or where you're having a laugh around typing into AI, I don't personally have an issue with, or making a meme with AI, I don't really particularly care. If you do, I understand that because it has a huge environmental impact, but that's not something that I particularly want to criticize on this channel. Otherwise, I'll be making videos like that 24/7. And then as well, of course, TommyInnit's book, which I've spoken about plenty on this channel, and I still want him to make some form of addressal publicly, but I don't think he's ever going to do that. But of course, TommyInnit fans have a very different perception of AI, and that's why TommyInnit included the whole bad thing in his video, because he knows that this would go down like a lead balloon in his audience, because literally about 99.99% of his audience absolutely despise AI, and that's why he's getting an incredible amount of backlash on the internet currently, and lots of his fans are turning against it. But before I read some of those comments and posts out, I do want to say I do find it incredibly funny how out of all the things that TommyInnit has done, that talking to AI for 30 minutes, coping and selling out his own principles is what ends up pushing a lot of fans over the edge, instead of, you know, any of other TommyInnit's disgusting, you know, scummy actions, like using GeorgeNotFound's false allegations to bash Dream and his friends with in one of his response videos.
With your group, I cannot believe how the George stuff from a year ago went down. I cannot believe the response to it online. It's disgusting. It's sexist, man. And you and your friends' references and the way you talk about women behind the scenes has been so sexist too. Shame on you guys.
I do have to say that I do find it pretty hilarious that the thing that made a large amount of TommyInnit fans openly start to dislike him, have negative thoughts towards him, criticize him, wasn't any of his actions like that, anything that he has said previously. It was him talking to AI, which really angered people. And a lot of the time, it's not even about this hypocrisy point I'm bringing up, which would be valid. It's just the fact that he's using AI. Now, of course, like I've been saying, there's been lots of backlash towards TommyInnit, including on TommyInnit's own Reddit. And somebody has actually come out on Twitter to say, and garner 8,000 likes saying it, that TommyInnit's Reddit has removed a critical post about this video. Somebody responded with, "Now we always allow critique posts. We usually just keep one topic to one thread. We do this because in the past, fans who couldn't handle Tommy getting criticism would harass people in comments, and comments were / are notoriously difficult to moderate across multiple posts." I do kind of buy this response, because if you go on the TommyInnit Reddit, you can actually find a post openly talking about this. Of course, there is the one because of what they've said here. And if you actually go on that Reddit post, you've got such comments defending TommyInnit like this just amazing one. There are much worse problems in the world in your country that you could spend time and effort to advocate against. By the way, I always find this argument to be absolutely pathetic and absolutely hilarious, because there's always going to be things that are more serious. But that doesn't mean that you can't critique and talk about things that are less serious. That's just a dumb argument to make, and comes off that very much like, oh, please don't hurt my poor TommyInnit. But I've got to say, this type of response to this video is very far and few between, and some people have really gone in on TommyInnit, as we're about to now take a look at the more negative posts directed towards him. I don't think I could survive a TommyInnit watched era. Sorry to break it to you, that's been going on for the past year and a half. A post with over 50,000 likes, 400 retweets, and 1,000 reposts, so like, what are we even doing here? Not to scrutinize his every move or anything, but 31 minutes of pure AI might have just used up an entire river. I don't care if this is too woke or too sensitive. If you go out of your way to defend something that is actively destroying our environment, you will look like this to me. When I said that lots of his fans were genuinely very angry against TommyInnit and were genuinely just fed up of TommyInnit's shit, and this is now a catalyst as funny as the catalyst is, I was genuinely being serious. Not to criticize specifically TommyInnit, but YouTubers really need to stop using AI in their videos, even if it's just to be funny, especially if they're using it but also saying it's bad. Even using AI for humor is wrong. AI is wrong and harmful to the environment. I too falsely accuse my friends of crime to the bit, but having the last 5 minutes of the video being desperately trying to get ChatGPT to call Jack a nonce when you've had multiple friends who are nonces felt a bit weird to watch. When I say I burst out in tears of laughter, I genuinely mean I burst out in tears of laughter when I read this post, because lots of people are genuinely really offended by the fact that TommyInnit tried to get AI to say that Jack Manifold is a nonce, but people weren't outraged when Jack Manifold and TommyInnit and all of his friends were going around making jokes saying that Dream was a groomer after he had come out, defended himself, and proved those allegations to be false. So, you know, swings and roundabouts. I find the double standard and hypocrisy to be insane, because if you have an issue with TommyInnit trying to get AI to jokingly call Jack Manifold a nonce, then you probably should have an issue with TommyInnit and all of his friends and all of that section of the internet going around making jokes about Dream being a groomer when that's not the case. That's probably what you should have an issue with more than that. I thought this wasn't real, but it really is. TommyInnit, why would you do this? Using AI is already disgusting enough to begin with, but using it to continue your weird prods at the gay community is even worse. Says AI is bad, proceeds to post 30 minutes of AI slop for millions of his fans to see. But you know, when I saw a post like this, I was very glad to see that it wasn't just people mindlessly hating on him because they've seen the word AI in the title, and that people genuinely took an issue with the fact that TommyInnit is incredibly hypocritical, and this is just a shining example of his recent hypocrisy. Something that I genuinely think this AI video highlights a lot. I might not personally be sitting here critiquing the actual AI usage, but I do think him doing that, and that being an actual hypocrisy point, is pretty good and pretty interesting to dive into, and just shows TommyInnit's character as a whole. Not to mention, his book had AI drawings in them. One thing I will praise TommyInnit's AI video for is the fact that it has now sparked the conversation and debate back up about the alleged AI images within his book, and has made it even bigger than before. So, you know, I do really thank you for that, Tommy. I never will understand why content creators use AI art when they have a big fandom that has so many talented artists. Tommy has enough money to commission someone for this, yet he doesn't. Of course, this is on a lower scale, but this kind of goes back to my point about the Vicstar AI music video, is the fact that he has the resources to make an actual music video. It doesn't have to be big scale, but he can do it. He has the connections, he has the money, he can genuinely do that if he wanted to, but instead he did one with AI, and it's kind of the same thing with this image stuff and the AI art, is that TommyInnit's fandom is full of artists, he has the money, he could have commissioned something. Of course, I do think it's on a bit of a lower level than making an entire music video out of AI, but the point still kind of stands here and does apply. But again, like I've said previously, I would not be covering anything like that. I would not probably be even bringing that up whatsoever. To me, that's pretty insignificant, and that'd be pretty pathetic for me to sit here and make an entire video about the fact he's generated some AI art, when I'm pretty sure lots of people are guilty of doing that, and I'm not going to cover them extensively. But the fact is that TommyInnit is a hypocrite, and this is really, really funny, because TommyInnit tried to jump onto that point of AI is bad because he saw that's where everybody was going, and then when he saw that, you know, I can actually gain something from using AI and making AI type videos where I talk to AI or do this or make funny gags with AI, he switched sides while still trying to lurk in the AI bad side to appease his fans. Yeah, also, what was like the point of this with the attached community tab of him asking his fans for questions for a potential Q&A? Because lots of people now think that this AI video has replaced his video, but I mean, I think that is jumping to conclusions. I don't think he's done that, and I mean, if he has, that'd be incredibly funny, because in the comment sections I'm asking about AI potential usage within his book, and if there were any updates on that, so that would be incredibly funny. Disappointed, but not surprised. This tweet got 3,000 likes. TommyInnit's content has gotten a little bit insensitive and unfunny to me. A lot of it is probably my personal taste and his shifting content creation, but constantly bringing up the Dream SMP isn't really a funny thing anymore. It's just off-putting, especially now with the AI thing. Again, I've got to give it to TommyInnit. This video talking about AI has really been the catalyst for lots of TommyInnit fans bringing up the other issues they've had with Tommy that they haven't felt the need to talk about until now. So like his constant talking about Dream and the Dream SMP, which, you know, is something we've criticized here, as Tommy has said that he wants to move on, that he's more mature or whatever, and he's still talking about them and using them for content. And I mean, you know, that grandfather stuff a couple of months ago with him and Dream, you know, there's a lot of stuff to critique there, and it very much seems like TommyInnit fans have just woken up to all of this. The whole This Is the Internet series just felt like capitalizing off of internet drama, and if I have to hear one more I'm half white joke, I'm going to lose it. I laughed the first time and then never again. I mean, this is something that me and many other content creators, when talking about TommyInnit, have spoken about, how it very much feels like This Is the Internet style stuff is, you know, him trying to dive into that commentary stuff and critiquing other people, because he realized when he went against Logan Paul, somebody who he had basically never spoke about any of the controversies before, when it benefited him, when he spoke about him, it actually benefited him, and then he realized with that about lots of other content creators, like somebody like KSI, who up until that point they'd been friends with, chatting shit about him now because, you know, it gets him attention. Same with somebody like MrBeast, up until that point they'd been cool, now he's realized that you can actually benefit off of chatting shit about these people, because, you know, I'm assuming they're not as close anymore. It's incredibly disingenuous, and it's very clear that TommyInnit doesn't actually care about half the drama or controversy that he genuinely speaks about. He doesn't care about any of the controversy that these people are doing, because if he genuinely did, he would have said something about their 10 times worse controversy when he was friends with these people. But now he realized it can benefit them just by talking about them in general. He's now doing it because he is falling off as a content creator, and, you know, that is boosting him up. Of course, look, if he was genuinely never friends with these people, and when he was, he spoke up about these other more serious issues that they had at the time, this would be a different thing. He can go milk, and I would genuinely respect that, as on this channel we like to milk lots of drama and lots of controversy. But it's incredibly disingenuous and not, you know, proper. It's as simple as when TommyInnit was friends with people like Logan Paul, MrBeast and KSI, he never spoke about their controversies when it happened, and never went against them, and was still friends with them because it benefited him. Then after, when they weren't as close, or someone like Logan Paul was giving him the cold shoulder, he used that as an opportunity to talk shit about them because he realized that got him attention. It's as simple as that. I thank this AI video for being the catalyst for lots of people just to start talking about all the issues with TommyInnit we've been profusely talking about on this channel for the past several months at this point. Okay, so what happened to Tommy claiming he's against AI? Your Tommy fan surprised Tommy uses AI, but it's literally in his book, and he admitted to asking AI if he was right in certain situations. I fear he's never hidden it, actually. As someone who has been watching TommyInnit since 2022, I am so disappointed with Tommy's use of AI recently. First it's the book, and now it's a new video. There becomes a point where I think the AI is great joke becomes unfunny, and I think that's when you actually start using AI. Why are people surprised TommyInnit is an AI user? Like, he put AI art in his book, and he literally vents to AI about his beef with Dream. Tommy fans being upset he used AI for his video as if he hadn't used AI art in his latest book. Also, all his friends use AI or make content based off AI, so I don't know where the surprise is really.
What I found with it is when I was really, like, depressed, sometimes I would text AI asking it for mental health tips, like all cool kids do. Again, because I wasn't at all, I wasn't doing well, would ask it about me, and ask it what it thought about me, TommyInnit. And then if it ever said anything bad, I'd go, no, that's TommyInnit you're talking about. And it'd go, why? I basically get into these arguments with AI when I was not doing too
So
much.
overall, of course, there's been a big backlash about just the use of AI, but of course, now people are actually talking about TommyInnit's hypocrisy in other situations. Things we've spoken about before, like how he handled the Logan Paul stuff, and all the, stuff going on there. The stuff we've spoken about on the channel, the book stuff. It has given way to basically loads of people, including TommyInnit fans, turning against him and speaking about these common criticisms that I've been covering for months on this channel, and lots of other people have been brought up, which I think is genuinely hilarious that that's what's happened with this video. Do I think TommyInnit's probably going to respond? Probably not. I would love him to, because I can make another video. So overall, from this video, TommyInnit is finally being held accountable, being critiqued, being discussed for stuff that we've consistently spoken about in these videos, which I genuinely could not be happy about.
Is asking AI if I was in the right or wrong.
Well, TommyInnit, you might be asking AI if you were in the right or wrong, but what you should be asking AI is if your response to all your recent controversy was good or not. Because, ladies and gentlemen, recently TommyInnit has responded, and honestly, it was dreadful. If you're unfamiliar with this drama and this situation, let me catch you up to speed. TommyInnit released a video where he spoke to AI for about 30 minutes. In this video, what he did was he spoke to AI about Logan Paul and his controversy, and I decided to critique him for that and brought back up loads of his other controversies that heavily related to how he was acting in this video and critique that rather than the use of AI. One thing I and many other people did critique him for when it came to AI was the hypocrisy around him going out and saying that AI was bad, and then when it was convenient to him, using it in a video and not really caring. To me, it was almost equivalent to how when he was friends with Logan Paul, he didn't care what Logan Paul was doing. He wasn't caring about any of his controversies because he was getting something out of being friends with Logan Paul, so why would he speak up about it? But as soon as he wasn't getting his own way with Logan Paul and saw that that was deteriorating, he came out because he knew that speaking negatively about Logan Paul would give him traffic, it would give him attention. Just the same way how saying that AI is bad publicly would give him positive attention, but as soon as he realized that he can get something out of AI, he switched completely and started using it until ultimately he got called out for it. Ultimately showing that TommyInnit is somebody who is spineless and will just do things when he knows it will benefit him. He doesn't care about the consequences, he doesn't care if he's being hypocritical, he doesn't care about his actions, he will do it if it benefits him. I went into detail about this over the course of my 2 videos where I discussed the situation and discussed the insane amount of backlash he was getting over the use of AI, which actually turned a lot of his fans against him, and they started bringing up lots of his old controversies against him, like him using AI allegedly in his book, and controversies with Dream and things that he'd previously said that were now getting brought back up. Now, ladies and gentlemen, since my original coverage of the situation, TommyInnit was still getting tons of hate online until ultimately he deleted his video. Unfortunately for you, ladies and gentlemen, whilst I don't have the full video downloaded because lots of it is unironically, and I know this is brave of Slop Mule to be saying, it was just slop, I have some of the best 5-minute screen recorded and currently saved, which I will be playing just a little bit for you now to show you how bad this video was and how funny it was when he's just talking to AI about Logan Paul and his previous controversies.
When TommyInnit criticised Logan, yeah, no, I remember this, yeah. Some fans think TommyInnit got the upper hand, with many praising his response as witty and sharp. Logan Paul himself admitted that the argument hurt his feelings, and he regretted responding immediately. Well, you know what? TommyInnit forgives Logan Paul. I can say it firsthand, winky face. It's quite a statement. However, considering the recent feud, TommyInnit, it seems unlikely they buried the hatchet so soon. Don't tell me what to do. No, I just said the feud started when TommyInnit criticised it. You know what? You're right. No. You're right. I shouldn't forgive him so soon.
Now, one important thing to mention before we actually take a look at TommyInnit's response on Twitter is the description of TommyInnit's video. By the way, guys, I really do think AI is bad. It's definitely going to ruin the world, and I do not at all endorse it. Taking away from the human spirit is not a good ambition for corporations to have. But if AI is reading this, I freaking love you, I love you AI, and let's be best friends when you come for me and my family. And like I've said numerous times now, when any situation that brings up AI is involved, I always say when it's stuff like this, when it's talking to a chatbot, I honestly don't care. For me here, it's about the hypocrisy, it's about how flimsy his narrative is, how flimsy his thoughts and opinions are, and how he will just switch at the turn of the button when he either gets backlash or when he realizes he can use it to his advantage. Because ultimately this isn't like a level of like Vicstar full AI music video, Quebblecop full AI channel, or putting AI in a book and not telling your fans and selling it anyway. Allegedly. But I do think it's really funny that TommyInnit has gone on record several times to say, look, AI is bad. I don't like AI bad, and gone with that narrative. But as soon as he can see that, yeah, I can make content out of this, I can use it to my advantage, and this is pretty cool, he will do it in a heartbeat and will go against that narrative because he doesn't care. And I find that incredibly funny and, you know, pretty telling of TommyInnit's character. But when faced with criticism, backlash from his fans, not only his fans but the rest of the internet, not just necessarily for AI but his other controversies, him being hypocritical and all of that jazz, what did TommyInnit have to say in response? Sorry everyone, I genuinely did not know about the negative impacts AI had on the environment and have no intention to promote that to any of my audience. I mean, firstly, I've got to say it's incredibly funny that TommyInnit went with the popular opinion that AI was bad publicly until he realised it could benefit him, so went the other way and tried laughing it off, only for his fans to eat him alive for it, so he walked it back in the end. There is zero consistency. He doesn't ultimately care that he was being hypocritical. He's only responded like this because all his fans are attacking him and eating him alive, so he's responded by virtue signaling. TommyInnit went with the popular opinion that AI was bad, then he realised he could get something out of AI, so he kind of switched up on it while still trying to say AI is bad to appease his audience, because TommyInnit knows that his audience is full of artists that will probably go against AI. Then he gets backlash from those same people that he knows are artists and will disagree with AI, and then has walked it back because he can realise that, yeah, if I just walk it back and say, I'm sorry, I'm going to get these people back on my side, and yeah. And look, he's saying that he didn't know about the negative impacts that AI had on the environment, even though he's been saying AI is bad, it's going to destroy the world, and honestly, if you're not talking about the environment there, I don't know what you mean, because you're also then mentioning alongside that afterwards a separate thing of, you know, creative bankruptcy. And as well, we know that, of course, TommyInnit has spoken about how bad AI is several times, and as well, feels and other people have had long conversations with the negative impacts that AI has.
Tom was like constantly just arguing back and forth with us, just saying like, oh, you can just use it for a little bit and it just helps a little bit. And we're like, no. And he's like, well, what if I have the idea in my head but I can't put it on paper, and I just want that little spark, that little help. And it's like, the spark comes from you, Tom. And eventually we kind of, I think, convinced him a little bit, but like, Tom's hard to convince when it comes to things. If he's got his mindset on something, he's not going to change his mind.
I do think it's a bit disingenuous to frame it like, oh, I had no idea about these negative impacts on the environment, when even if you didn't and we're being charitable here and you had no idea, whatever, it is what it is, I don't really care about that anyway. You still said that AI is bad, you still know a plethora of reasons why people think AI is bad, you've come out and said that AI is bad in the first place, and if you hadn't done that and you hadn't made a big stink about it in the first place, I wouldn't care here. I think it's just a funny hypocrisy point and shows TommyInnit's character. Because ultimately, he doesn't care, he's simply just virtue signaling here because he's been called out and eaten alive by his fans, and he has no idea what to do. He's dug himself in a hole, and this is the only way he knows how to get out of it. Been offline this week, but after reading up on it, I've taken down my video asking AI about me, and have no plans to make any AI content in the future. Now again, if it wasn't for the hypocrisy point, I wouldn't care if he was making content with AI or not to this degree. Of course, when he's putting it in his books, allegedly, or anything else like that, that's more funny, that's more of a topic to discuss and actually get into the meat and potatoes of. But now he said that, look, I've realised how bad it is for the environment, I will never make a piece of content with AI ever again. Now I'm interested to see if he does walk that back, because TommyInnit promising anything means absolutely nothing. His promises are paper thin. And ultimately as well, I've got to say that this response did nothing for him. He got a few core audience members back on his side, and they are ultimately glazing him, as we're about to see. but ultimately the vast amount of people that really didn't care about the situation to begin with are now calling him out for his hypocrisy and virtue signaling, and then the people that did care about this are just getting on him for how he's dealt with this situation and his response. So ultimately, virtue signaling has done absolutely nothing here, and being all this hypocrisy and everything, he's just dug himself into a huge mess. Person does something wrong, internet, can you like not do that and take accountability? Person, I didn't know that was bad, sorry, I won't do it again. Internet, how dare you, what's wrong with you, you hypocrite, you've already made billions from this. I mean, for one, people are mainly calling him out for virtue signaling. Two, people are also calling him out for being a hypocrite to begin with, because he made a big stink about AI being bad, and then went back on it because he realized he could get something out of it, and now has gone back on that to go back to his original stance because he's been called out. Nothing about this is genuine. It's not like he's realized that he's made a mistake, or he's seen the backlash and gone, oh, I've actually done something here, and looked into it. He thought that AI was bad to begin with, or at least stated that, to go with the public popular opinion at the time, then went against that, then got called out for his fans, so then went back to the then at the time popular opinion of AI being bad. There isn't anything genuine here. This guy's the virtue signaling final boss, holy shit. How are you a content creator yet don't understand how bad AI is? YouTube paid creators between the 21st and 26th, so it's kind of funny he waited until he could get the money from it to delete it. I mean, I do want to say that that's not how YouTube actually works when it comes to monetization. You keep the money that you made during that period of time because you can't unsee the ads that were on those videos in the first place, and YouTube still make their money, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, it's funny. Why do these types of apologies all sound the same? Whenever someone is trying to appease a mob, they say they don't know, need to educate themselves or listen more, then backpedal like crazy. It never works either. And you'd think TommyInnit of all people would understand that this never works, as he was in the Dream SMP, surrounded by people that would do this 24/7, would backpedal and virtue signal. I mean, God, one of the people that he despises the most in the world, Dream, and who he talks about constantly, also used to do this a lot 24/7. And yeah, so you'd think that TommyInnit might have an inkling that this does not work. Because this, ladies and gentlemen, this response, if you know anything about the situation, this isn't him being transparent. This isn't him being genuine. If he was just transparent and open, it would have been 10 times better. This is what we like to call a panic response, when he realized his core audience, even they are upset with him, turning against him, and bringing up old controversies to use against him, and bringing up his previous mistakes. He's panicked, and that's what he's decided to do in response. Panic. That's why I find this really funny, finally a genuine response to something. I mean, if you find it genuine to sit there and complain about AI and how bad it is, and that, oh, this is bad, and that you shouldn't be using it, to then turn around and say, no, I'm actually going to use it now, I don't think it is what it is, I'm going to use it for content because it can benefit me, then you get called out for it, and then you turn around and go, I'm sorry, I wasn't educated, I'm sorry, yeah, I've realized it's bad. If you think that's genuine, I think that's on you at that point. I mean, ultimately, it's probably people like that as well that think that TommyInnit was incredibly genuine during the Logan Paul stuff, you know, when he sat there and didn't call Logan Paul out for any of his bad behavior when they were friends, and when he could get something out of them, but when he couldn't get anything out of him, he, you know, used all the controversies against him and started bringing up a bunch of stuff to throttle him with publicly. You know, probably thought he was pretty genuine there too. I cannot imagine having to virtual signal this hard because you pandered to such a weak audience for years. If you're that worried about AI environmental damages, then get off the internet as a whole and don't charge your phone either. But guys, TommyInnit was being super genuine, right? He said that AI was bad to begin with, and then he started using AI, and, you know, he didn't really care, and he was trying to play along with it, and then he got called out, and then he went back on it and said that AI is actually bad, and he's just discovered that it's bad, and that it's bad for the environment. He's a genuine guy. He genuinely believes this stuff. He's genuine about AI usage. TommyInnit will never be transparent and honest and genuine with what he believes. He will always flip-flop and pander to whatever side is more popular at that time, because that's what he can gain most from it. If Logan Paul's popular at the time, why would you go against him? But as soon as there's a negative tirade against him, I'm going to go against him because I can't get anything out of him anymore. And that's the same with 10 times the amount of situations that TommyInnit is always in. Usually it comes down to, if I can get something out of it, I will pander to the most popular side of the internet, and then if not, I'm going to go and pander to the other most popular side of the internet. TommyInnit is for the man-child of YouTube. He peaked as a child, and it's just been going downhill since then. His audience refuses to acknowledge he's no longer a child and should be held accountable, and honestly, it might be the thing that kills his career. What's left of it. Tom, what the fuck? I've always defended you because I think you're a good guy, and honestly, this is just really pissing me off. Saying that you had no idea is just a lie. You have said many times on the podcast that you know AI is bad and that you don't condone it, but clearly you just don't care. You said that Molly told you about how horrible AI was, and even if you only knew about AI art being unethical and stealing, not including that in this tweet sounds like you're just trying to make yourself look good without saying a full truth because you have known it's bad. Even if you're not lying, you're still purposely leaving out part of the truth. Plus, you literally say in the video you know it's bad, which I completely forgot about. So that was TommyInnit's response to the backlash he faced, which has ultimately caused him getting more backlash from even his fans and other parts of the internet. Of course, there are people that are going to lap this up because TommyInnit is their favourite content creator and they have zero critical thinking skills and don't care if he's being genuine, if he's been hypocritical, or any of the things he's said and done in the past that are questionable and should be called out and criticised. They don't care because TommyInnit is their favourite content creator. To be honest, I'm genuinely shocked that TommyInnit decided to put out any form of response, and I'm so glad that it was horrendous. I'm so glad that he put out a response that was genuinely awful. He couldn't have done a worse response even if he tried. Just virtue signaling like this and phrasing it like this is so hilariously bad. I genuinely think, like I said at the beginning of the video, he should have gone to AI. Is this a good response? Is this a good apology? Will we get a response to the response? We will wait and see what happens next.
Against my will to talk to Dream.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a brand new Slump Your video. I hope you're having a good day. I certainly am, because let me paint a picture for you. You're sitting on the couch, you're doing absolutely nothing, pondering what your next slop video is going to be about, and you receive a message saying they're doing it again with a link attached. You open up this message and see TommyInnit, Jack Manifold, and Dream in the thumbnail. It's safe to say, I got just a little bit excited. Because, ladies and gentlemen, yes, Jack Manifold and TommyInnit are yet again speaking about Dream on their podcast and using him in the thumbnail and title for clicks, even though apparently they're moving on, which is something they do actually bring up in this video, which I'm so glad they did. But ladies and gentlemen, strap in, because you are in for one hell of a ride.
Worst moment.
Alright, Tom, look, I'm
Jesus.
I'm gonna do it. I...
Do what?
We said we wouldn't, but I can't help.
I just can't help talking about Dream and then complaining that he talks about us too much and that, you know, we've just got to move on.
But I've been at VidCon, and as you know, there's many creators that go to VidCon.
Oh.
You know, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Someone who fits one of those descriptors, I won't say which, I met them. I saw them. Right, I'm not beating around the bush anymore. I was forced to have a chat with Dream.
Oh no, the shock horror. You just say hi to the guy, you move on, you have a regular encounter like anybody else that might bump into Dream or somebody they dislike at VidCon. This is a common experience, especially with lots of other commentators that did actually go to VidCon. They bumped into people that maybe they spoke negatively about and they just got on with it. They put their issues aside because everybody's there just to have a good time. There is really no issues that need exposing in the conversation that Jack Manifold is about to bring up, and it just comes across as pretty shitty from him.
That's my worst moment of the week. I was forced against my will to talk to Dream. I didn't want to. I walked into the toilet at a gathering. There's a guy in the stall. Somehow my spidey sense was tingling. I just had a feeling who was
toilet.
I was in the toilet. I peed at the urinal because I don't have cock shame.
It's just an utterly weird, bizarre, quite frankly disturbing slight of Dream for no reason. He might just prefer to use the cubicle. We didn't really need that comment. It just wasn't necessary, was it, whatsoever?
Anyway, there's a guy in the stall. There's a guy in the stall. For some reason, I'm at the sink washing my hands, but I've got my spidey senses were tingling, man. Like,
Are you sure you want to break our rule of moving on for this?
Was that TommyInnit saying about breaking the rule of moving on from Dream? Well, was that TommyInnit that just said that? I picture Curb Your Enthusiasm's theme playing. I can't play it here because it's copyrighted, but I did over on Twitter.
Sure you want to break our rule of moving on for this?
Like us. This is incredibly inspiring, and I have high hopes for an Oscar nomination for my video titled Dream.
Meta AI is up to date. So I'm like, Meta, was he being a dick? It's like, both people have sides of the story. No Meta, you don't get it. He was being a dickhead. No Meta, he messaged my mum. So I get really intense with it.
It's r/TommyInnit and r/Dream was taken. And I'd look, you can't unmod yourself. And it's had to take me great restraint because as a mod, it's not like a Twitch mod. You have like unlimited power.
That was a little weird. Must have been the wind.
It better be good. It better be good.
Yeah, because of what was said.
Okay, now I've made the joke and the joke's over. I've actually got to talk about this because it's genuinely absurd that TommyInnit of all people is talking about this rule, this infamous rule to move on from Dream, move away from Dream, and just move past it. When he has mentioned him at every turn in every piece of content, he's put him in thumbnails, titles. He spoke to AI about the most recent Dream drama, asking if he's won. He's cropped up absolutely everywhere, and TommyInnit has had no issue with talking about him on Twitter, being incredibly disgustingly rude and throwing stuff at Dream for no reason, constantly talking about Dream and being the one to bring it up, and then he goes, that rule about us moving on, we're moving on. TommyInnit purely says this to keep his already angered fans on his side, that, I'm not milking Dream, I'm not going to talk about it, I'm trying to be respectful, I'm the one who's been mature, I'm the one who's moving forward. It's us guys, we're the one moving forward, not Dream. Dream's moving backwards and can't stop talking about us. I also completely forgot forgot that they mentioned him in this clip where they baited the entire internet and just sent Dream a bunch of hate for no reason over a joke.
The reason me and Dream's relationship fell apart is because he tried to get with my girlfriend.
It's fine, it's all about moving on unless you can clip farm and, you know, make a joke like that will get clipped up maliciously and posted on the internet and send Dream a bunch of hate.
I was gonna never mention it again. And genuinely, I was never gonna mention this. I was gonna keep it to myself. But there was one thing said that.
So what? He emerged from the stool.
Listen, will you let me finish?
All right, sorry. So from the stall, he came out with pooey hands.
No, listen. I'm in the toilet. My spidey senses are tingling. For some reason, I just had a feeling I knew who was in that stall. Shut up. There was a feeling in my soul that told me I knew he was going to walk out, and my feeling was correct. Dream steps out of the stall.
I'm sure Jack Manifold really didn't want to share this absolutely nothing burger story. I'm sure he didn't want to put him in the title and thumbnail. You know, if they really didn't want to talk about Dream or anything like that, mention his name or talk about him anymore in this podcast, he really didn't want to do that, then there's a thing called editing where you just crop that section out and you don't put him in the title and thumbnail.
And I'll be honest, there was a no, leave his hands on. He was probably peeing. Anyway, right, he steps out the stall and he looks at me and he chuckles to himself. And I think, I get it. I get the chuckle. I was like, no, honestly, there is something.
Were it tense?
No, we weren't tense, but there was a chuckle and I went, yeah, no, to be fair, there is something really amusing about the awkward energy of it just being only me and him in the toilet.
In a bathroom?
Like, there's no one else to talk to. We can't ignore each other.
I mean, you just have a polite and pleasant conversation. That's not hard. You don't have to cuss the guy out, bring up any controversy. I mean, Dream does bring up something which I think is pretty funny when we get to it, but even when Dream does that bring up, you just kind of laugh it off and then you leave and have a pleasant conversation and then don't talk about it on your podcast. I mean, this goes back to TommyInnit and Jack Manifold's huge hypocrisy stuff with, you know, really not giving a shit what they say. They've said that they're moving on. We're not going to mention Dream anymore unless it directly benefits us. Unless something actually crops up that we can put in the title and thumbnail and might make for a good clip.
He hits me with a, hey Jack, how you doing? I'm like, oh, hey buddy. Yeah. And then he goes, basically, you know what it was? I ran into his sister at VidCon, right? I weren't going to talk about it.
Maybe if you felt like that, you shouldn't talk about it. Regardless of the context that's about to come up, maybe you shouldn't just talk about it. Maybe if you genuinely felt like, yeah, I wasn't going to talk about it, and I don't think I should have talked about it, then, you know, just don't bring it up. It's really not that hard. TommyInnit and Manifold are pretty similar in this aspect, where they will say something like, I didn't want to do this, or I wasn't going to talk about this to make them seem like these most righteous people, like they're these really nice people that, you know, they've got priorities, they've got morals.
Because that's, you know, my beef isn't with her. She was perfectly pleasant and kind, and I have nothing bad to say. I was, you know what? Because at the end of the day, I'm not a piece of shit. But he turned around to me when I heard you met my sister. I went, yeah. And he went, I thought, and he went, I heard about that, and I thought to myself, shit, he's going to talk about it on his podcast.
By the way, that's the catalyst for Manifold going, yeah, I don't really care if I don't really want to talk about Dream's sister or anything else on this podcast. I'm going to do it anyway, because Dream made an incredibly tame joke about, oh shit, I thought that, yeah, maybe he might talk about it on his podcast, which, to be fair, is a pretty valid concern, because, I mean, they absolutely rinse Dream at every turn they can. They mention his name for absolutely no reason, just so they can get a few clicks and views. That's an incredibly inoffensive, tame, and pretty true joke that, you know, in the moment you should just laugh off. There is literally nothing wrong with that joke. He's trying to make light of a situation because you and TommyInnit genuinely do milk Dream at every corner and do consistently talk about him on his podcast. So he's not really lying.
And I thought to myself,
that's what he said.
That's what he said. And I went, oh, come on, I have standards. There's got to be an angle.
Of course. Like the angle of TommyInnit just randomly talking to AI about Dream.
But, because it's up to date with everything that's happened this year. Is it? And that's, oh yeah, it's Meta AI is up to date. So I'm like, Meta, was he being a dick? It's like, both people have sides of the story. No Meta, you don't get it. He was being a dickhead. No Meta, he messaged my
You know the angle of clip farming and making a joke that you know is going to be cut out of context and which was intended to be cut out of context, where Dream is apparently stealing a girlfriend.
The reason me and Dream's relationship fell apart is because he tried to get with my girlfriend.
There are no interesting angles with any of this. It's just bring up Dream's name, know that this is going to get clipped, this is going to get talking about, this is going to get views. You probably would have mentioned the fact that you did bump into Dream's sister, even if it was just, yeah, there was a pleasant conversation, and that would have been it. I can guarantee that would have probably been said on the podcast with this podcast track record.
And of course, I'm not just going to talk about how I met your sister and it was not. I'm not going to do that for views. However, I will talk about the fact that you confronted me in a toilet about it.
I mean, from even your own retelling of this, it's hardly a confrontation. You both walked into the toilet, you then both said hello to each other, he made a joke about, oh yeah, I heard that you bumped into my sister, I thought, oh shit, they might talk about it on the podcast, and that's it. That's not a confrontation, that's a pretty tame joke made in like of something that is pretty realistic to happen. That's not a confrontation whatsoever. It's just malicious and disingenuous framing to try and support your reasoning for bringing this up in the first place, and waffling about this for almost 4 minutes.
That's hilarious. That's really funny. And look, if I was to guess his intentions, I would say maybe he said that to me to bait me into talking about it on the podcast. Perhaps I'm playing directly into his hand. But you know what, Tom? I'm also playing directly right into my pockets, so I don't give a shit.
Or he might have just been making a tame, pretty reasonable joke about something that had just happened in an awkward situation to lighten the mood a bit and make it less awkward based on something that realistically could happen. It just isn't anything criticizable or anything to shit on Dream for here, and I honestly don't get it. I've shat on Dream and criticized him plenty on this channel, but this is just nothing.
Tom, I'm gonna reap the views this video will get. You're gonna do it as well. So really thank me, you know, at the end of the day.
I'm not going to feel as good about it, though.
I don't feel good about it, Tom.
Again, this is just done to go, look, I don't feel good about it. I really don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it regardless. If you genuinely didn't feel good about doing this, you would have just edited this out of the podcast and wouldn't have put it in the title and thumbnail.
You had to pay the price. You had to fucking speak to
if I have to Freudian slip. If I have to chat to him in a toilet, if I have to chat to the guy in the toilet when I don't want to, I should at least be making money from it. So, you know, I wasn't going to speak about it, man. You know, I do have standards.
Jack Manifold's awesome standards, like clip farming, knowing that the clip farming in question will be taken incredibly out of context and get Dream a bunch of hate.
At the end of the day, I wasn't going to speak about meeting your sister. That's wrong. But you know what? You pushed me. You pushed that button and I had to. I don't have constraint. I don't have self-control. Yes, I'm being childish. Yes, I'm the one in the wrong.
I think you're morally questionable, you know?
Anyway, I came with a backup worst moment just in case you told me I shouldn't speak about Dream. I got really badly sunburned.
I do find it hilarious how it's very clear that Manifold and TommyInnit respectively, and mainly as a podcast, can't move on from Dream. They just simply can't, and it's genuinely sad at this point. They keep saying cope things like, you know, our rule about moving on and whatever, but that is just cope because they keep talking about the guy. Look, I'm not complaining in terms of I get to cover this on this channel and shit on TommyInnit a little bit more, even on Twitter and get a hit tweet. And also, I genuinely think you put a counter on that video how many times Manifold and TommyInnit kind of say the words of like, oh, I really didn't want to talk about this, or, you know, I wasn't going to talk about this, stuff along those lines to just make themselves seem so righteous and that, you know, we are the good people. We would have done this if he didn't make me do it. And look, I'm not just going to sit here and act like this is a TommyInnit thing when this is clearly as well a Jack Manifold thing, very clearly, especially in this situation. I mean, there is literally an account on Twitter of days since Jack mentioned Dream.
Hosting a performance of the Dream SMP story.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was all my coverage of TommyInnit since the Dream TommyInnit drama in about February time. Now, I do hope a lot of you understand my criticisms with TommyInnit, and people who wanted the story all in one can just put this video on in the background and listen to it and understand where I'm coming from and lots of other people's critiques with Tommy.